Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, ICI Dubai. Good evening, everybody. Yes. A warm welcome to the dignitaries, elite speakers of the day, Chief Guest Shri Yatin Patel ji, our speakers, C.R. Prit Kabra ji, who is going to join in short while, and Adrian Girard Earl ji, thank you for joining, and all my seniors and fellow members here. Welcome to our session on approach to forensics and frauds. Warren Buffett once mentioned a very interesting quote, which I was reading. It says, in looking for people to hire, look for three qualities. The quality number one, integrity. Second is intelligence and energy. And if they don't have the first one, which is integrity, the other two will kill you, which is intelligence and energy. So which means, this quite aptly explains that even though we continue to invent ways to control frauds through forensics, but the circumstances continue to invent new ways to create frauds. We leap forward to the world of AI to put more controls, and so does the techniques of using AI for frauds. In one of the cases I was reading, in 2019, criminal used AI-generated deepfake audio to impersonate a CEO's voice and thereby asked the accountant to transfer the money to somebody else's account using the AI technology. So this is the way the fraud actually is inventing its way as well. This very well explains the importance of today's session, which is focused on increasing our awareness of various fraud-related trends and how we can protect against it. So welcome again to our session, Approach to Forensics and Frauds. Like before starting any occasion which binds us together, we always pay respect to our Janam Bhumi, India, and our Karam Bhumi, UAE, without which our existence, our success, our well-being has no meaning. So let's all of us please rise for the national anthem of India, UAE, and ICI motto. Thank you. Technical team, please play the video.
सुप्तेषु जागृति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Thank you, everyone. You may please take your seats. As you all might know, that last week we lost a very distinguished personality, Dr. Ram Buksani ji, who was very regular to our events and always inspired us to do more. He is the name behind the successful business group ITL Cosmos. We will definitely going to miss him. Can I please request everyone for 1 minute silence in his remembrance? You may sit or whatever feels comfortable. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now it's time to invite our chairman of the chapter, C.A. Rajesh Somani ji, for his address. May I please request everyone to put your hand together for the captivating chairman of our chapter, who always strives for perfection when he walks the stage.
A very good evening to all of you. Good evening. Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Sri Yatin Patel, Deputy Consul General of India, Dubai, distinguished speakers, Mr. Alrin Gerard and Mr. C.A. Arpit Kabra is on the way to reach our venue. Our ever-supporting respected sponsors, former chairman of the chapter, on behalf of my Vice Chairman, C.A. Jayaprakash, Secretary C.A. Rishi Chawla, fellow energetic Exxon members on the board, a very good evening and welcome to all of members to one more technical session of this evening. The importance of these technical sessions drawn upon us not only in the world of professional services, but business in general as well. We are truly witnessing the fourth industrial revolution, which is based on technology. While technology and the new innovations have improved our efficiency, accuracy, speed, and comfort of life, boundaries less. But on the other side, it also brings in new challenges and threats to existing businesses and its practices across the countries. That being said, it also strengthens anti-business elements and increasing threat to smooth operations of business globally. It has already reached to the level of collecting handsome ransom money, hacking, frauds, cyber crimes in general are already on the rise and continuously increasing day by day. Therefore, augmenting the new skill to address these new challenges has become the need of the hour. It is said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. I also remember the quote of the former CEO of the Cisco. He said, there are two types of companies, one which has been hacked, others which has been hacked but don't know. As we navigate the complexity of the digital age, it is imperative that we remain vigilant and proactive in safeguarding our financial system and organization integrity. The rapid advancement of technology has brought about unprecedented opportunities for growth and innovation. But it has also given rise to sophisticated cyber threats and frauds that can undermine the stability of our governing institutions and business organizations. Cyber criminals are becoming increasingly adept at exploiting vulnerability, making it essential for us to stay ahead of the curve. Forensic audit plays a crucial role in this endeavor. By employing specialized techniques and rigorous analysis, forensic auditors help detect, investigate, and prevent financial fraud and cybercrime. Their work not only identifies illicit activities, but also provides the necessary evidence and legal proceedings and recovery of assets. I am sure that both well-experienced professionals in their field we have in our own panel today will not only enable us to sharpen our knowledge and skills, but also help us in understanding the complexities of the subjects. Please welcome Mr. Adrian Gerard from Bank of Baroda and CA Arpit Kabra from Mumbai. Last month, we celebrated International Yoga Day with two prominent speakers on business with great life and health without medicine. We also celebrated our CA Day with Run for Viksit Bharat as per guidance of ICI India, followed by a blood donation driven by members and family in Latifa Hospital. Also next day, a tree plantation in the Indian Consulate Journal in the August presence of His Excellency Deputy Consulate General, Dubai. We also had focus group class yesterday on custom GPTS and organized UAE City course class under the leadership of our ICI Regional Director, CA Prabdeep Singh. For the very first time, under new initiative, we have organized all the GCC chapters together webinar on artificial intelligence powered chartered accountants on 4th July, led by Chairman AI in ICICA Dayanivas Sarma. In the upcoming events, we have planned focus group webinar on corporate tax in GCC countries on 18th of July. We have kept it open for all the members of the chapter and also request all interested members to become a member of focus group for staying up to date and specialization for attending focus group programs regularly. CA Asna, CA Balram, CA Sanjay Gangrani can be reached out for more detail in this respect. Indian government budget is expected on 23rd July, and we have planned a budget session on 29th July evening. We also planned for celebration of Independence Day on 17th August evening. Please block your diary for the same. Planning for an event on IFRS and another event on corporate tax and VAT are also on the verge of finalization. Request all of you to please contact and increase our CA members who are yet to pay their fees and also new members to become members of the chapter. We have already conducted the draw for paid members for 2 iPhone in the last event on 23rd June, and I once again congratulate the winner, CA Puneet Ved and CA Lokesh Gupta. The final draw for remaining 3 iPhone will be held in the month of August from all the paid members till 31st July 2024. I urge every member to reach out to all the CAs in Dubai and help them in connecting with our chapter, our profession, or our colleagues. I thank everyone for making the time and joining us despite it being a working day, and also take a moment to congratulate all the new CAs who have passed in the recently declared result on 11 July. Welcome to the fraternity. With this, I conclude my address with one of my favorite quote: when you stop learning, you stop leading. Have a great learning time and enjoy the session. Yours, Rajesh Somani. Jai Hind.
Members, let's give a thunderous round of applause to our chairman. Thank you so much. So lovely. Thank you, Chairman Rajesh Somani ji, for sharing the inspiring note and the calendar ahead of us. Now, we are honored to have the presence of Shri Yatin Patel ji, who is the Deputy Council of India, and a person who always have a charming presence and positive attitude whenever I've met him. And who could do a better introduction for him than our Vice Chairman, CA Jaiprakash Agarwal ji, whose electrifying presence has always ensured energy in the room is 100%. So give him a big round of applause. Jaiprakash Agarwal ji with you.
गुड इवनिंग आईसीआई नहीं आती आवाज यार गुड इवनिंग आईसीआई that is ICI Dubai chapter. Love that. I tell you something, we have touched the figure of 2,800 members. Give a round of applause to each one of us for touching 2,800 members. But still we are short. Why we are short? Because I want to see the magical number of 3,000. 200 members are required. Can 2,800 members take it to 3,000? Then let's do it. Let's try to get those 200 members and let's touch those numbers of 3,000. Looking forward to it. I can see the smiling faces. Bring one. If 1% of us bring one, we get to 3,000. Let me see how many of us can bring one to the chapter so that we touch the number of 3,000. Looking forward to it. That is one part. Second part is learning is important. Forensic is important. We have been learning technology throughout, but that was restricted to Excel. Now we have to move on. I love that Chairman has started the initiative of Chat GPT. Sanjay was there. Something which we should do it. Right now, the thing is we have reached the number of 100. 60 participants, 60 members from ICA Dubai chapter took the course. 40 are in wait list. We are 2,800. Trust me, my dear friends, somewhere you have to start your journey of technology. You have to lose the fear of technology. ये हमारा काम नहीं है. This statement should go off. This is not for me. This statement should go off from a chartered accountant's book. They should learn the Chat GPT. They should learn artificial intelligence. That is what I'm looking forward to. And one such thing is forensic. So you will see more and more of technology getting introduced to the chapter, and you have to embrace it with your open arms for the future. With this, let me introduce Sri Yatin Patel, Deputy Counsel General and Counsel General for Passport Attestation, Press, Information and Culture. Sri Yatin Patel joined as Deputy Counsel General of India in Dubai and Northern Emirates in January 2024, that is current year. He served as the third secretary in the Embassy of India, Brasilia, and he also served the High Commission of India, Maputo, as a second secretary. He also served as first secretary in the Embassy of India, Brussels. During his tenure in Delhi, he served in the Publicity and Administration Division, and currently he is Deputy Counsel General for Passport Attestation and Press. So anything on passports for yourself, you know the right person who is now taking the stage. With a round of applause, can I have Mr. Yatin Patel on the podium? तालियां बजती रहनी चाहिए, नहीं तो आपके पासपोर्ट में दिक्कत हो सकती है.
Dignitaries of ICI, esteemed speakers, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Consulate General of India, I'm truly honored to represent my organization in front of this August gathering. Today's topic, forensic audit, which remains unseen but a very critical practice for our financial health. You auditors, you unlayer intricacies and you come up with discrepancies in any of the issues, which is one of the biggest deterrent against the fraud. Now, fraud is a sad but a very ubiquitous practice all around the world, and at least in my limited knowledge, I don't know a better deterrence than forensic audit. Every once in a while, when we think that the business is normal and things are going as usual, we come across a high-profile fraud case, which bring the focus back on forensic audit squarely. A timely forensic audit would have seen inflated revenue and profit in Satyam case, and it would have saved so much of trouble for its investors. Audit would see if there is shrinking inventory, and it would minimize the loss for the company. I believe there is no high-profile merger that could ever proceed without scrutiny of forensic auditors. Similarly, if there is let's say, a case of high net worth individual separation, there also auditors would go through incomes and assets to come up with dispute settlement. In some countries, if I'm not wrong, forensic audit is a mandatory requirement. Like in USA, Sarbanes-Oxley Act, it makes it mandatory for publicly traded companies to have forensic audit. That act itself became necessity once Arthur Andersen issue came to the light. So we know that as the businesses are becoming more and more transnational, and the impacts are not limited to certain geography or certain economies. In this time and era, sharing best practices of forensic audit is also necessary with emerging technologies. Now it's very much possible to go through myriad of data and come up with insight. Gradually, we have seen, not just in corporate sector, but even in public sector also, that the boundaries that separate a traditional forensic audit and cyber audit are vanishing if they have not already. So it's never too late to acquire new skill, like our professionals here, they had mentioned. And every once in a while, it's good to keep in touch with emerging technology and acquire skill or two. So I'm really looking forward for all the sessions which are being conducted today, because after all, in longer run, only paranoid survive, right? I take this opportunity to thank ICI for inviting me in today's event, and looking forward to have engaging sessions with our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yatin Patel ji. Big round of applause for him. Thank you for coming, and for passports, we'll always remember you for sure. Can I request Chairman, Vice Chairman to please join on the stage? And Nimish Makwana ji, please, if you can also join on the stage to give a token on behalf of all of us. Thank you. All right, before we start our session, can I have raise of hands, like when you first joined ICI Dubai chapter as a member and you continued afterwards? How many people who have joined and continued like 4 or 5 years, or 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years? A lot of us, many of us. So what our vice chairman, our chairman has said is that it's our duty. Like personally, whenever I meet anybody young CA in my office, for example, the first thing I do is make them member of our chapter. Because this is the easiest way to train the latest of the latest to the members. Like ChatGPT, we practice something, and we had a session yesterday. Sanjay, well done. So this is how, as a chapter, we move. So it is our moral responsibility as well to train our fellow CAs to really, keep performing to the top level. So let's take that initiative. Thank you, Chairman, Vice Chairman, for putting that across. Now we come to our first technical topic of the day, which is banking, cyber risk, and operational risk. In today's digital era, everything in banks is turning digital. With that comes the risk of cyber frauds. like if I want to say how many people actually go for bank transfer to bank, means do you remember going to the bank and doing a bank transfer? Not really. Those days are gone. Now everything is online. So if there is no online access in a bank, we actually try to close that bank. You see the Vio bank, it is growing like anything because it is so easy to work with it, right? So very clearly, the days of visiting bank to transfer text are nearly gone. Now everything is online. Even though banks continue to engage by sending messages such as if there are any kind of fraud risk or something, that don't click this thing, don't click that. But this continue cycle of new frauds are hitting us. Now to talk about this very interesting topic, we have a very senior professional who is a senior manager, fraud risk assessment and operational risk management at Bank of Baroda, Mr. Aldrin Gerard Alji. Thank you for joining us. And to formally introduce him, I'd like to request our energetic ExCom member, CA Ashna. So please give her a big round of applause as she walks for the introduction of Mr. Aldrin. Thank you.
Good evening. In today's world of artificial intelligence, the saying goes as, our ability to manufacture fraud now exceeds our ability to detect it. Isn't that true? My first experience with fraud is like in those articleship days when we were given a chance to go for bank audit. It was a Daman and Diu. That time digitization was not very common. We had these manual ledgers and systems were just developing. No, I'm not 68. Don't scratch your head. Which era is she talking about? So those days, they gave us customers' ledgers to check because we were articles. We were not given balance sheets to, finalize. While detecting, I found an interesting series of mistakes. In the bank ledgers, the rounding of differences were removed. Like if you had 100,000 point some balance, those balances were not getting carried forward every month. So when we raised this question, this was the first fraud that was detected in Daman and Diu in a bank. This rounding of figures for the years was getting accumulated in another account. And the balance there was significantly high. And they were welcoming him as a customer of the bank. Without understanding that, he was deceiving the bank people with their own customers' money. So this is one of the frauds that I came across in my life. With that, I would like to invite Mr. Aldrin Gerard. He's a senior manager with fraud and operational risk management from Bank of Baroda. He has a list of achievements and awards in his kitty. Some of the interesting names are, he's awarded Shukran Award. He has a Pat on the Back Award for reducing operational losses. He's considered a superstar, and this award is very difficult and a great recognition. He also has interest in football. Without taking much time, let us hear us out from Mr. Aldrin Gerard Earl.
A very good evening to one and all. Fraud is a very interesting topic, but I cannot see that enthusiasm in learning about fraud. Good evening to one and all. Yeah, that sounds better. Thank you, Ashna ma'am, for that lovely introduction. And just to talk about Bank of Baroda before I start with the presentation. Bank of Baroda is the only bank, in UAE who has a full-fledged banking mainland license. And last month, we have completed 50 glorious years in UAE. Thank you. And we have various types of accounts, and one of the main accounts that we have is wherein you can have the ownership in India, but you can run the account from UAE, which other banks I don't think is offering this kind of facility. So I'd like all of you to take the opportunity and make use of our presence here in UAE. So let's go back to the topic, fraud awareness. So as you see the presentation, it is know it, see it, be aware of it, and report it. Now, knowing it, you need to know what's fraud, and after you know what the fraud is, how do you prevent yourself from being a victim to fraud. Then and after that, reporting is very important, not only to the bank. It's not that you become a victim of fraud, okay, and you do not, you become a victim and you do not, there's no loss from your end, okay, and you do not think it's important to report that loss to the bank, or it's important to report to the regulatory. But it's very, very important, because for you it might be you've been a victim of fraud, okay, but the same attempt can be done to another person, okay, and that person can be a real victim where loss is too much in his account, okay. So reporting is very, very important, apart from knowing fraud, okay, and being aware of fraud. So today's topic, we'll speak about the basics. What is fraud? Okay, who does fraud? Why people do fraud? Then we'll speak about the fraud triangle. Then we'll talk about fraud diamond theory. What are the elements in which people do fraud? And then we'll talk about ATM frauds, cyber frauds, and then we'll take the subject on. So when I say fraud, what is fraud? Okay, it's a wrongful and a criminal dishonesty, which is an intent to either financial gain, okay, or a personal gain. So suppose a person does a processing at the back end and it's done by a mistake. Okay, so we do not consider this as a fraud because there's no intent in that. But if he knows that this process, on processing this transaction to this particular XYZ account, okay, it's my friend's account and I do this transaction and my friend will benefit from it, then it's fraud. So the intent is very important. So can fraud be done by mistake? No, fraud cannot be done by mistake because it's an intent that you're doing fraud. Who commits fraud and why do they commit fraud? Anybody can commit fraud. It could be me standing here giving this session also can commit fraud. It's not necessary that I am over here, I do not commit fraud. Okay, I have the knowledge to commit fraud. I know what fraud is, how to prevent fraud. So definitely, I can even do fraud. Okay, so anybody can do fraud. Normal people do it. And why do they do fraud? These are the few reasons. For greed, very important. Making bad decisions. Then presented with an opportunity to do the fraud. They have the access to do the fraud. Okay, then perception that they'll not be detected after doing the fraud. And as we spoke earlier, for personal gains and for themselves, or to damage somebody's reputation as well. Fraud cannot be considered that only I'm doing fraud for financial gains. I want to damage that particular company. The company reputation is very high. I want to damage the reputation of the company. So fraud attempts are done on that. So what is the psychology behind fraud? Experts have told that there are three main elements for fraud. The three main elements are pressure. Pressure could be financial pressure. Okay, it could be official pressure, wherein you have certain needs of your family, you cannot commit to the needs. So what they do is they do fraud to get the financial gains and then give it to their family. Or month-end sales, when they're not able to achieve their targets. So what sales do? They try and forge signatures. They try and get applications from XYZ, from consultants. Okay, so again, by this, they'll not be losing their job. That's one. And secondly, they will be getting the incentives as well. Second one is opportunity. Opportunity is the ability to plan, okay, a fraud in an organization by making use of the weaknesses of the policies, if there's any policy gaps. So the fraudster, what they do is they circumvent the policies and they commit the fraud. Could be overriding, or could be using dormant accounts where accounts are not being used for a long time. So what happens is they take advantage of that, and there's no proper controls in place. There's no checking done on a daily basis. The dormant accounts activated and funds are transferred to another person. And the third one is rationalization. Rationalization is a justification for wrongdoing. So I done the fraud, and I say that, yeah, I'm working in Bank of Baroda since 5 years, 6 years. It's okay, nothing much. It's only 100 dirhams or maybe 200 dirhams. Whatever it is, even if it is an intent over there, it is fraud. Okay? So I hope you all got this, is a fraud triangle where you have pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. So the other experts, so they stated that apart from fraud, apart from these three elements, that is fraud, that is pressure, opportunity, and rationalization, there's another element as well which is very, very important to commit fraud. Without that element, they will not be able to do the fraud. And that element is capability. If you're not capable of doing the fraud, how will you do the fraud? You need to have the capability of convincing somebody else. You need to have the capability of understanding the governance of the company. You need to have the capability of exploiting the weaknesses. So you need to have that particular knowledge. So capability also is one of the elements. So this is known as a fraud diamond theory, where you have pressure, opportunity, rationalization, and capability. Now we have two types of fraud. Broadly, there are two types of fraud. One is an internal fraud, and the other is an external fraud. What is an internal fraud? Internal fraud is a fraud when it is committed by people working in the organization to damage the company or to take some funds from the company. This is internal fraud. An internal fraud could be even, anyone's heard of ghost employees? Yeah? So ghost employees is also one good example of internal fraud. Okay, then you have expenses reimbursement. So you're going to give inflated bills to claim from the company when you have not used those particular payments or not used those services. And the very common fraud in banking is robbing the banking from funds, embezzlement from the company, taking away funds from the company. The second part fraud is an external fraud. External fraud is where somebody out of the company has been involved in the fraud to commit the fraud. Okay. This could be identity theft is an example. Then you have phishing. Then you have vishing, smishing. We'll go about all these in the next few slides. And that comes under social engineering, or you can say cyber frauds. Okay. Then you have credit card frauds. Nowadays, credit card frauds, debit card frauds is one of the trends that's happening. And another one is a business email compromise fraud. Business email compromise fraud is a fraudster who is external. He impersonates to be the CEO of the company, and he tries to get funds from the company. So we'll discuss about that also. I got a case study on that as well. So we'll discuss about business email compromise in detail. Now let's talk about ATM frauds and cyber frauds. Okay, now this is a skimming device. Okay, this device is a skimming device. How it works is the skimming device is kept on the card reader in an ATM. Okay, so when the fraudster goes to the ATM and he inserts the card, okay, the funds will be dispensed, but the card will not be dispensed. The card will be captured. Okay, so there would be a pin somewhere around kept at the ATM, a camera kept at the ATM. So when the customer is entering the PIN number, the camera captures the PIN number, and then the card is captured by the card skimming device. Okay, so what happens is the fraudster has a hold of the card, and he has a hold of the PIN. So he would take that and he would misuse it for his personal gain. Okay, nowadays all our cards are Wi-Fi cards. If you know that all our cards is a tap and go card, you just tap and go. Nowadays, you have devices, skimming devices, wherein if you're going in the metros or in the bus, if they put the skimming device near your wallet, they would be able to read the card details. So once the card details are read, then that card details can be transferred to another plastic and then used to commit the fraud. This is the skimming device. Now to get the pins, there are two ways. Okay, one way, as we discussed, is they have a camera around the ATM, and this is the second way. This is a keypad. Okay, this keypad is put on the original keypad. So when the PIN number is entered over here, this keypad captures the PIN number. Okay, and this is how the skimming happens. Next fraud is phishing. Now, what is phishing? It's not going to Jumeirah and catching a fish over there. Yeah, it is a similar type of phishing, but you are phishing personal information of people and phishing the credit information of the people. So what happens over here is the fraudster, they impersonate to be a company or a bank or any government institution, and they send an email with a link to many individuals. So when you see the URL would be HTTPS, which is secured, in fact, okay? But for your information, all HTTPS emails are not secured. There are certain HTTPS emails wherein the certificate is expired, okay? Now, those HTTPS domains can be used for committing the fraud, okay? So once the link is sent out across to the Once the link is sent across, okay, and the victim clicks on the link, it takes them to a website that looks exactly as the similar website, as the original website. So once the information is inputted by the victim, the information is compromised. I'll give you an example over here. A few months back, one of my friend, his wife, she was shopping. Okay, she was scrolling on Facebook, and she seen a exciting offer for buying a purse, a wallet. Okay, so she told her husband, I want to buy this, it's an offer, it's a good Gucci bag, it's an offer, it's very reasonable. And he was quite busy, he was a banker, quite busy. He said, okay, fine, use your card, you have a card, use your card. So she used the card, nothing happened. So she called him back and said that nothing happened, the payment did not go through, maybe some issue with the card. Then he said, okay, fine, use my card. So he gave her the card details, she used his card also, nothing happened. She waited for 10 minutes, again she called him back. Then he said, okay, use another card. Nowadays, everybody has at least 2-3 cards. So he's given 2-3 of his card details to her, and she entered all the card details, and nothing happened. Then he said that maybe the site is down or maybe some issues, they just leave it. And after a few days, he was having dinner with his wife, and he got messages from all the banks. All funds have been debited from his account. Now, what happens over here? Now, when she's seen the site, she clicked on it, it took her to a Gucci site. But that site is actually operated by the fraudster. When she entered the card details were being captured by the fraudster, and he used it later on some other websites for these purchases. So when he went to the bank to claim for it, okay, the bank had given some of the funds, but some of the funds would not be able to give because she logged into that website and she's put in an OTP also over there. So there are two things. Now, when you get an OTP, okay, it's very important to read the amount on the OTP, and it's very important to read the merchant's name on the OTP. Okay, so without reading the merchant's name, without reading the amount, do not use the OTP to authorize a transaction. So if you do so, if you do not, in a hurry, you do not see the merchant name and you do not see the amount, and if you use the OTP, then you as a customer are liable for the loss. The bank will not take the loss because it's the customer's responsibility to. That's the reason why we are giving OTPs, we're taking the trouble to send OTPs with the name of the merchant, the amount, so that you all be aware of it. And if there's any red flags that you have not done the transaction, the amount is different, the merchant is different, inform your bank immediately. Maybe your card details are compromised, so they will replace your card and reissue and give you a new card. Okay, the other one is, once your card information is compromised and there's no OTP generated, but the transactions are debited the account. Sometimes it does happen. So these are known as unsecured transactions, okay, but the liability of the loss for these kind of transactions would lie on the merchant. Okay, so it's very important for you to inform your bank immediately. There are two reasons, okay. One reason is there's a turnaround time for reporting any fraudulent transactions, and if you do not report fraudulent transactions within that particular time, then you would not be liable to claim the amount. Second thing is, if you report it, your card would be blocked immediately by the bank, and they'll be reissuing a new card. That's very, very important, okay? So how do you protect yourself from phishing? Always check the web address. Always you need to check the web address to see if it's the same, okay? Do not, if you get any suspicious emails, do not click on that. Try and delete that email. The reason why we say delete the email is because maybe you'll keep that email today, but tomorrow you're searching for something important. You might go back to that same email and use that same link, and you'll become a victim of fraud. So any suspicious emails, delete it immediately. Okay, do not give any information of yours, could be your mobile number, your date of birth, any personal or any financial information to anybody. Let them say they're calling from Dubai Police, they're calling from Central Bank, they're calling from Bank of Baroda, or calling from any government institution. Do not give any of your personal information. In fact, Central Bank and the Dubai Police have put a lot of campaigns requesting individuals not to share any of their personal information, because once you share your information, then you would be compromised with that. And we would not be able to do anything once you're compromised. Similarly, like phishing. Phishing is wherein an email goes to the victim and the victim clicks the link. Similarly, this is known as smishing. Smishing is you get a text message. You will not get an email, you get a text message. And this process is the same, wherein there'll be a link in a text message, or they'll be telling you to urgently call somebody. Or if you're getting a text message from the bank will say, please call a mobile number immediately. Why will the bank ask you to call a mobile number? Okay, that is one red flag. The second red flag is if you see any, you'll see a lot of spelling mistakes. A lot of spelling mistakes. The messages that are sent from banks or from government institutions are proofread 2-3 times before we send it. There are proper approvals in place before we send a message. But these messages come with a lot of spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes. So that is also a red flag. If you get such emails, inform your bank immediately, because your bank can take an action and inform their customers, other customers, saying that these messages are going out, so be careful, do not fall victim of this kind of fraud. So that is smishing. Smishing also is a similar type. So once ever you get any unrelated messages, try and delete the messages immediately. Do not keep those messages in your inbox. Could be that you'll use it sometime. Okay, again, you'll fall a victim of the fraud. Use additional softwares. Okay, nowadays in Apple phones you have an option of reporting those kind of SMSs. So try and report those SMSs and delete the SMSs immediately. Okay, so that those numbers would again be on a what you call blacklist. Okay, so report it as junk and delete the messages. The third, now this is one of the adverts that's given by Dubai Police, requesting all customers not to share their information, not to share any personal information. It could lead to fraud. This is a very interesting WhatsApp that I have got. If you see over here, there are a lot of spelling mistakes. Okay, and they are saying that the card is not working, to contact a mobile number. A bank will never ask you to call any mobile number. A bank will ask you to call his toll-free number. So they have toll-free numbers, they have their own hotlines. So they'll ask you to call on that, and they'll never ask you to call on a mobile number. If there's a mobile number over here, delete it immediately. Report and delete it. This is another one, text message. See, the fraudsters are trying everything possible. They're trying emails, they're trying WhatsApps, they're trying text messages. At least some person or the other would fall a victim of fraud, and they will get what they have to get. So they are trying their means, they're trying all the ways to earn money, but we have to be more careful while dealing with such emails, SMSs. And this is another smishing alert. I think everyone might have got this from Emirates Post, saying that one parcel is available for you guys. To click on the link, and then it takes you to a place where you have to put some money to get the parcel. And even Emirates Post has confirmed that they have not sent such kind of messages. So be aware of it. Next type of fraud is vishing. S is for smishing, that is SMS. V is for vishing, which is voice. So the fraudster would call you on your mobile. I am calling from Bank of Baroda. Okay, I need to have your card. Your card has been blocked. To unblock your card, I need to have some of your information. Please give us your information. So they try all means possible to try and get your information. They will call you, and if you try and or you act smart with them, they will tell, okay, I will transfer your call to my manager. They'll give it to somebody else who acts like a manager. Okay, nowadays the fraudsters are very, very educated. They can speak proper English, and they can make a fool of all of us. It's like a cat and mouse game between the fraudsters and the banks and the government entities, wherein we are trying to put some controls and they are trying to break the controls. Okay, so this is happening right now. So how do we protect ourselves? When you receive any phone calls, okay, please do not give information. As I've informed earlier, do not give any information, any of your personal information or any of your bank information. The banks will never ask for these information. Your PIN numbers, your OTPs, we do not want any of those information. So the bank will never ask for it. So do not give it. If someone calls you asking for it, that means it could be a fraud or it is fraud. Disconnect the call immediately and report it to your organization. Anyone has heard of SIM swap fraud? SIM swap fraud? SIM swap fraud is a fraud where your SIM card has been changed. Okay, your SIM card has been swapped. Now what happens is, now these fraudsters, they have a lot of connections. Okay, so there would be an internal person in the telecom company wherein your SIM card would be, okay, before go to that, we always inform our staff, okay, in the bank to shred all customers' information, okay? If a customer comes and applies for a loan or for an account or for any product, okay, and the application gets rejected, the policy is clear and straight. If the customer does not contact you within 7 days to collect the documents, you have to shred the documents immediately. This is a policy that we have. The reason why we have this policy is, if you have your documents lying around, okay, there are people walking into the branch, and Bank of Baroda is a very open branch. I think most of you have visited the branch, so you can walk directly to the CEO's office also. It is so transparent. So if the documents are lying around, a fraudster just walks in and takes a document, and he walks out. So he can use this document to commit this type of fraud. Wherein he would go to the telecom company, and his partner or his person is working over there, he would go, he'll give that document, and on that basis, they will give you a SIM card. Okay? So once the SIM card is activated, the SIM card that the customer is using will be deactivated. And the new SIM card will be activated. So all the transactions, so the fraudster, he would get the card details, he would get the PIN numbers from the different types of frauds he spoke about, smishing, vishing, and all that. Okay? And now he needs a OTP. So once the SIM card is swapped, he has the OTP as well. So all the SMSs are delivered to the new SIM, which is in the hands of the fraudster. So how do you protect yourself from this type of fraud? Okay? Nowadays, everybody is on the phone. If you see your phone do not have network for a certain period of time, okay, that means there's something wrong. Call your service provider immediately and ask them, is it me or is it anybody else? Ask your colleagues, ask your friends, do you have network for your phone? If you do not, if they say, yeah, I have, and you don't have, call your service provider, ask them to block the SIM card, ask them what has happened to my SIM, why it is not working. There could be some technical glitches as well. It's not that everything is fraud. Could be some technical glitches, but if it's not, it's always good to contact them and ask them to take necessary action before it's too late. Always register for SMS and email alerts. Okay. Nowadays, there is a precaution of not sending alerts on the emails for security reasons, because emails can be it's more easily to compromise an email than a SIM. Okay, so nowadays it's advised not to send emails, but they always say that it's always good to to register for SMS and emails. And if in case your details have been changed, inform the bank immediately to update your details. Could be that your old number has been given to somebody else as per the telecom policy, and that person gets all your SMS and emails. We had a lot of customers, especially WPS customers, labor caste customers, wherein they come here for some time and their SIM card is given to somebody else, and that person gets all the SMSs and all the notifications. Okay, so if there's any change in the email address, any change in your address, any change in the mobile number, please inform your bank immediately to change it. Identity theft. What is identity theft? In simple terms, identity theft is stealing someone's identity and using it for benefiting either for a loan, okay, or for any purpose. So we have a lot of identity thefts happening, okay, wherein because currently after 2020, wherein we were hit by the pandemic, what has happened? Everything has been transformed into digital. Everything is digitalized now, okay? So, and all the banks are competing in each other. Who gives the fastest, who will open your account fast, okay? How fast your account is opened. In how many hours the account is open, and how many hours I'm giving you a credit card in your hand. After you get the credit card, how long are you going to use the card? Immediately, approvals are given, limits are approved, okay? So because of this, what is happening is there is a compromise in the checks. Now the credit card has been issued. Now maybe the salesperson is already collaborated with the with the fraudster, okay? And they have uploaded the fake documents. Or they have not met the customer, but the documents are uploaded. The card has been issued. Now, once a card is issued, there's a temporary approval limit available for the customers to use, okay? And the cards have been delivered immediately to the customers. So once those cards come, they activate it and they use it. End of the day, the bank is liable for the loss, okay? But again, you would be a part of it because your identity is used to commit the fraud. So until it gets investigated by the police, and gets investigated by the bank itself, okay, it's a completely long process. Okay, till then, you will be, you have to go to the police and a lot of hassle, okay? So identity theft is stealing someone's identity and using it for somebody else's benefit. So how do you mitigate yourself? Always shred documents, okay? Documents not required, your bank statements not required, shred it immediately, don't leave it on your workstation, or do not leave it in lying around, okay, because anybody gets it, they can misuse it. Never share your information with anybody, okay, this is one of the important things. And always update the mobile number, contact details with the bank, we already spoken about this. And verification due diligence, okay, this is mainly for the banking salespeople, where we say that if you go meet a customer, we have a process of original, seen, and verified. Okay, so where you see the original document, you verify the original to the copy, and then you attest it as original, seen, and verified. So without this process, you should not be accepting any documents from the customers. This is what we tell the sales to mitigate fraud. Business email compromise. This is what I was speaking to you at the beginning. Now, this happens when the fraudster attacks a particular business, okay, to try to get funds from the business or try to get some personal information from the business. Okay, now these happen it's not like once and for all, it's certain steps they have. The fraudsters have certain steps to commit the fraud. Firstly is email account compromise. Okay, there are two ways. Either the fraudster can hack the email of one of the senior members of the organization, could be the CEO of the company, okay, hack his email. Or secondly is they use a spoofed email. A spoofed email is a similar looking email wherein one or two digits have changed, okay, but it looks the same. Like you say bank, instead of B-A-N-K, it will be O-N-K. So no one will read that in detail. Okay, so this is known as a spoofed email. Secondly is they use social engineering wherein they send emails again, okay, to people in the organization. They search for people who are working in which category, which departments they are working, who has authority to make payments. If the CEO has to give an instruction, who will he give it to? So this is a hunting to know who does what in the organization. The third is they send a fraudulent request. So after they know who is the important person, they send a request to them asking them to make the transaction, and they inform them very clearly in the email that this is very confidential, do not share it with anybody. Okay, next step is exploitation. So after the funds have been transferred, once the payment request has come and the payment has been gone and the funds have been received by the fraudster, they again the attacker tells them not to give the information to anybody. They reconfirm to them, telling them not to give this information to anybody. So this is a case study over here, okay, XYZ company. The target person is Jane Scott. She's the CFO of XYZ Corporation. The attacker is a cyber criminal Okay, he's impersonating the CEO of XYZ company, Mr. John Smith. Okay, now what happens first? Research and target identification. The attacker spends several weeks trying to find out who works in the company, what they work as, how can we target them, okay? The second part is email compromise. The attacker creates an email, as you see over here, the email is created over here. The I is changed, okay, the I is there, the 1 is here. So when you read this email, you will not know that it is spoofed email. Okay? So the second step is wherein the email spoofing is done. The third step is social engineering. So sending an email to the victim, informing them this email is very urgent to make the payment immediately. And normally emails with anything known as urgent, immediate, or you call utmost urgent, these are red flags. Okay? So what happens over here? Okay, this is the body of the email sent. This is the email that was sent by the fraudster to Jane, trying to make her to transfer the funds to another person, to their account. So it clearly states over here, it's an urgent wire transfer of so-and-so amount. Okay, it's very confidential, extremely important. It must be done today without delay. Okay, these are the red flags over here. This is the bank account details where the payment has to go. Okay, once the transfer complete, send me a confirmation of receipt. Do not disclose to anyone else in the office. So the fraudster does not want them to discuss with anybody else, because if they discuss with somebody else, then they will come to know that it's a fraud, and they might stop the payment. So that's the reason why they put all these words over here to try and brainwash that particular person not to look into the request in a detailed manner. The next step is convincing the victim. So once she receives an email, once Jane Scott receives the email, recognize it from the CEO, because she thinks it's from the CEO because the way the email is written is like the way the CEO would have written the email. Okay, so she's convinced with that as well. So the money transfer request, believing that the request is legitimate, she wires the amount immediately to the fraudster. Okay, follow up. So what happens is after the transfer is done, the attacker may again follow up, saying that have this payment done. If the payment is done, please keep it confidential. Do not share it with anybody. Okay, and last, money laundering. Money laundering also plays very important over here, is because once the funds goes to the fraudster's account, he tries and moves the funds to different accounts so that it will be very confusing during the investigation of the police. So if you want to follow the trail of where the funds are, it will be difficult. So the outcome of this is, what happens on the next? A few days later, okay, Jane comes to know that the CEO tells her that we're planning to buy something new. So Jane clicks in her mind that, yeah, but a few days back he has told me that he wants to buy something. So she goes back to his email and checks his email in the sent, and she does not see any of his emails coming to her. And when she sees her mailbox and he sees his inbox, there's no email coming from her to him, but the payment is gone. So what she does immediately, she reports it and she recalls for the payment. But by the time it's too late, the payment is already gone. So how do we mitigate yourself from this type of frauds? Okay, verification procedure is very, very important. Okay, there should be always a two-factor verification, a maker-checker process should be in place, even if it's the CEO. Okay, call the CEO, inform the CEO that I've received a request from you. Is it okay to transfer it? It will not take 2 minutes or not take a minute to get a confirmation. Then you're losing $250,000. Okay, employee trainings. You have to give your staff trainings about phishing. Okay, what we do in a bank is we do these every quarter. We do these drills wherein we send emails or fake emails with links to all the staff, and whichever staff clicks on the link, okay, we know that that particular staff would be a staff who might compromise the bank. 5 minutes? Okay. And last on this is incident reporting plan. So you have to report this incident immediately to the police. It's very, very important. You have to report it to your IT team as well, informing them, and to the remittance team requesting for a recall to be done. Okay, I think my time is up over here. Fraud, in fact, is a very, very big topic to talk upon, and the time is limited. So if you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. Sorry? Yeah, I can share it. No worries.
Thank you so much, everybody. Did you like the session? Then give it a big round of applause to Aldrin. I think, trust me, this is one of the sessions which I was listening very carefully and then wishing and fishing. And, it's like, I am wishing I should not get caught in something like this. So the knowledge which he shared is tremendous. I'm sure there's so much to learn for us. But also we have another speaker, and we have to be conscious of the time. So we'll take some questions. So it's not that we're not leaving. Aldrin is going to be here with us, and he'll take some Q&A. But before that, we want to take this moment as Deputy Counsel has to leave. So can I request Deputy Counsel to please join on the stage, and RPG as well, and Aldrin, please stay here with us, and to join on the stage. And we also like to acknowledge the presence of His Excellency Yaqub Ali Ji. Thank you so much for joining. Big round of applause that he has taken time for us. Sir, please join with us on the stage. Request from Chairman James sir, please join, and Nimish bhai, you're there. James sir, please join on the stage. I think the stage is already set on fire with so many, powerful dignitaries on the stage. But now is the time. We have to request Aldrin to be back on the stage with us to take the pressure of those perfect, straightforward questions from our members. Balram, just pick the mic and we'll take some questions. Please raise your hands, then Balram, and there are two mics. Sanjay, please also coordinate on
I'm
this.
Nimesh speaking.
Ashna is there.
Hello, I'm Nimesh speaking.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I know a couple of these frauds that is taking place, like, calling up somebody or sending SMS and all those things. But many things are done in an organized manner, sometimes I feel, like people who are doing it, they know why they are doing it. Some of them are unemployed or something like that. And if you sit down to make a complaint to the police department, even after knowing the source from where the things are originating from, still you can't do anything because even the police in India is also linked to all this nonsense. To be honest with you, because I have experienced it, not because I was caught, but somebody had sent me a SMS and he circulated to all my relatives. So my brother-in-law sent a reply to that guy, okay, send me your account number. So he sent me the account number. And after my brother-in-law was smart enough to just send only 1 rupee. And when he sent it to that guy, the account number was totally different. So, and when you complain, it was from somewhere in UPA and all. And believe me, we tried everything in lodging the complaint and all. Nothing happens. Because it's all organized crime. All these boys, they have some hafta given to people sitting in that departments. There is nothing much we can do unless we have proper system.
So thank you so much for the question. Okay, let me answer you, sir, on this. As I informed you earlier, that these all fraudsters are well educated. They know what they want. They want money, okay? And how do they get the government? In India, it's a different ball game. Over here, it's completely different. I seen cases here. I actually, I'll not comment much about India because since 2007, I've been in India. Okay, I just go for holidays and come back. But I'm talking about UAE. The government is very strict about it. And I've seen cases where police has recovered funds from the fraudsters. There are cases over here. Okay, there was a case recently wherein one of the customer was a victim of a business email compromise, what we just spoke about. Okay, so apparently his client's email was hacked. Okay, and from his client's hacked email, he received an email requesting to transfer some funds to an account within UAE. It was lucky enough that the transfer was within UAE. Okay, so when our customer did not check, our customer, what he had to do is he had to call the client and say that I got an email from you with new account details. Is it your account? A confirmation should have been done from the client. He did not do it. So after transfer done, after 3 days he contacted us, okay, and informed us that this fraud had happened. So we immediately, within UAE, it is very strong because central bank also supports what you call the banking system in such a way wherein there are certain codes where we have something known as a UAE FTS, like how you have SWIFT payments overseas. Within UAE, you have something known as UAE FTS. So within UAE FTS, we need to send a code, FRC, fraud reported by customer. So once the other bank gets this notice, they block the account and the amount immediately without any questions. So we as a bank need to do our due diligence and send an FRC. So the amount will be blocked immediately. So the customer again went to the police and complained it. That person whose account it was, he was caught. That person was caught and he was taken to prison and there was a case filed on him. So here in UAE, it is very, very strict. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi. My question is relating to the credit card frauds.
Yes.
My understanding is that if there is a credit card fraud and you've acted diligently as a customer, then the bank would compensate or reimburse you again. But whereas in the case of debit cards, that's not the case. Is my understanding correct?
No, it's the same. It's the same. For debit cards and credit cards, the process is the same. Okay, now see, as I've informed you earlier, there are two things, a secure transaction, unsecured transaction. Secure transaction is where you enter the OTP and the transaction gets authorized. So you as a customer entering the OTP, you are authorizing it. So in that case, the bank cannot do anything. Even Visa, Master, no one can do anything because it's an authorized transaction. A PIN is there. But for the other transaction, an unauthorized transaction, for those transactions, there is a chargeback process wherein you can file a chargeback and the merchant would be liable to pay it. As per central bank guidelines, we have a consumer protection regulation central bank. As per the guidelines, the customer should be reimbursed within 30 days from the day the customer has reported the fraud. Okay, but recently central bank has sent another circular saying that the funds should be reimbursed to the customer's account immediately if the customer is not involved in the fraud. So we have to do a preliminary investigation. Investigation says that you are not involved in that. We have to reimburse you immediately. But if you share the OTP, then we cannot do anything about it.
Okay, and as regards the OTP, if you check the amount and you check the merchant's name, normally, I mean, many a times what happens is the merchant name is different to the payee that you're paying it to. It's the name of a company, and you're not aware of the name of the company as such. So how do you protect yourself?
So nowadays, you see many group companies are there. You're talking about group companies, right? Group companies, and under that you have sub-companies.
In case of utility bills,
like for example, Pizza Hut also, it comes under some other, some food something, right?
That's correct.
So you know, you're aware of it. You see, you are aware that these companies are a part of a group company. Now, if you, see, I'm not sure about other banks, how they send messages. We send a message with the, merchant name and the country of it. Okay, so we are saying Google Pay, you're saying payment to Google. It will be google.usa. For us, we send it that. So we know the customer is aware that this payment is from US.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, hi. I just need to understand what kind of controls the banking industry is putting out in terms of like KYC validation, other things. This is again a scenario which I have come across, where the fraudster sitting, say, in African country, Nigeria or somewhere, he's able to open a bank account in UAE with say, suppose the initial starting 4 digit, last 2 digit aligned to your company corporate account. So how the banks are validating this? How these fraudsters are able to open a corporate account or an individual account in UAE?
You're talking about the company's similar name, or you're
Similar name, companies name. In fact, like suppose if the bank account numbers are say 10 digit, so starting 3 digit, end 3 digit is also matching with the company account. So this kind of accuracy they are able to have, where the vendor or the customer fall into prey. So what is the banking role here?
See, right now, central bank has requested all the banks, okay, to check the company database and to report any lookalike accounts. Okay, so we are working on it. So this fraud, we know it's happening. Okay, it's a trend that has started now recently. So they are working on it, and they have instructed all the banks to give a report to them of lookalike accounts, okay, and of what frauds have happened in those accounts.
But this should be automatically blocked, like.
No. See, now these licenses are given by who? The trade license issued by the government. We cannot say no. If a customer gives me a genuine trade license, I take the trade license and go to the DD website and I check and verify it. It's authenticated. It is the DD is given a license. So how can I, as a bank, not open an account?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. I have one question regarding the credit card and other things, fraud transactions. The thing is, when certain transaction where I am not in that particular country, but the transaction has been happened without OTP. Now the thing is, when immediately within a fraction of minutes, I try to block the card and inform the bank and disputed my transactions. They say that the OTP has been entered and there was no OTP on my phone, but the bank is telling that you approach now police. What is how the things are happening?
There could be a possibility wherein your email address is hacked. There could be a possibility, okay, wherein your email address is hacked and your email address is linked to your bank account and an SMS is gone to the email address.
But the thing is, they say that somebody has entered the OTP.
Yeah, that's what. The OTP is gone to the email address.
Yeah.
And that email
So
address is hacked.
email is compromised, you mean
Is
to say.
compromised, yes. Could
But
be a
the thing
possibility.
is, in that case, credit card, it's a credit card, and if anybody merchant is going to claim or have already claimed, the transaction can be reversed. But bank has refused to do that transaction also.
No, but again, if they are saying that it's a OTP verified transaction, they will not take the liability. The liability
so
would be
that's they
because
say you
see the
contact
email.
Dubai police.
The email is the customer's email. It's not the bank's email. It's a personal email of the customer. Okay, the SMS is a personal thing of
No,
the
but
customer.
I have one question that there is an exceptional transaction called bank has a trigger of that part. Tomorrow, for example, if I am in Dubai, I not inform bank I am traveling to say Syria or Angola. And if transaction is happening, why can't bank call and inform that there is some suspicious transaction has happened? Because most of the banks should have that features inbuilt in the system.
So which bank are you banking with? Which bank are you banking with?
I don't have to name you. In person, I'll definitely.
Please come to Bank of Baroda. We have a transaction.
No, we are
I'm telling
banking
you.
with Bank of Baroda, but I'm talking about the biggest bank in UAE. I'm talking about not small bank.
Sir, I cannot comment on their behalf, but we have a set process in place. If it's such that happens, we would reimburse to your account.
Yeah, definitely. I'll join you
Please.
again.
Please, sir.
Mr. Aldrin, say in credit card, normally there is a dual check when the OTP is sent on the email as well as on the SMS.
Okay.
But normally we have seen then when the card is misused or the fraudulent transaction take place, no OTP on the SMS. I presume that the email has been compromised and he would have received. But when OTP has not come on the phone, then why the transaction is allowed to done?
Sir, I think that at that particular time, there might be a system glitch wherein the SMS is not triggered to that SMS. There's no, what I can say is that not possible wherein your SMS and email are registered to receive notifications and you have not received an SMS. Could be that there was system glitch or there was a downtime due to which the SMS is not triggered on your SMS, but it went to the email. Could be the one possibility, but I don't think any other possibility.
Normally this happened with me also, but no OTP on the SMS and the transaction has been debited.
So the fraudster will not have that kind of control on banking systems wherein they can choose to send an OTP on the email and not on the SMS. That's completely under the bank's control. So I don't think could be a system glitch wherein you have not received that. But you need to raise it with the bank and check with the bank.
The cost.
Why this has
It has been raised to the bank, and bank was, you can say that kind enough to credit also. But why this OTP is not coming and transaction is being accepted by the merchant? How it has happened?
Sir, Visa, MasterCard, they have their set rules. Okay, now if a transaction is triggered out, okay, you enter the OTP. Whoever enters the OTP, the transaction would go through. They do not have any process in place to stop any transactions. They earn by the transactions. So they will not stop any transactions. So stopping of transactions be done at the bank's end. That's the reason why we have a fraud risk management system in place, wherein we put logics in the system, and based on the logics, we get alerts. So we review the alerts, and if an alert is generated, we call the customer immediately, and we block the card immediately if customer is not responding.
No, that you do on the basis of the request from customer. But the bank does not have any check that when OTP has not been generated, then transactions should not go through your system.
But the OTP is generated in the email, no, sir. The OTP is gone to the email. For the bank's end, the OTP is triggered. If the OTP is not triggered, the transaction will not go through.
So once the OTP has not been received on
but
SMS.
It's triggered on the email. Could be a system glitch, sir.
It has to be both now. When I have
no,
opted
not
for
necessarily,
the both.
Sir, you might have opted for both, okay, but it's not
You can accept anyone.
Yeah, anyone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Big round of applause, Aldrin, for taking the pressure. I hope you feel relaxed now. Your session is coming to an end. But members, please, he's here. Use your time because his experience very much we have seen. Use your time, talk to him. He will answer a lot of questions. And trust me, this frauds, we cannot remove it. We came from the Switzerland trip, and my cards got hacked. Fine. The thing is, I have to disable in time and claim the refund. That's the way we have to move in life. All right. But we cannot let Aldrin go back and sit there without giving a momentum on behalf of all of us as members. So Chairman, Vice Chairman, sir, please join on the stage. James Matthew, sir, please join on the stage. And Vinod Kumarji, can you also join to present the memento on behalf of all of us as members to Aldrin. Big round of applause for him. Really very impressive session. And of course, our Ash. How many have seen the message of raffle draw? No hands up. Nobody seen it, so how will you get it? And how many wants to see the faces of the people who got it? We want to see who are those brilliant people. The people are with us, Lokesh and Puneet. Puneet and Lokesh, we want to see you on the stage. Can you please join? Chairman, Vice Chairman, can you be on the stage with us for a few more seconds? Jai Bhai, please be on the stage for a few more seconds. We want to congratulate the winners, Lokesh and Puneet, for being the lucky members of our chapter. Let's see the shine on their faces. Bigger round of applause for them, for being our members, being consistent with us, and winning the prize, of course. Thank you so much. All right, so now we come to the most important session, which is going to take us through the journey of a fraud to technology, to a lot of things to offer from our next speaker, who is with us, CRPG. The world of fraud is always changing, driven by new technology and behavioral shifts. Understanding these changes is important for everyone to stay safe and secure. It's practically becoming impossible to avoid some kind of a fraud risk. You purchase things, different fakes are around. You go to email, there are hacks. You go to WhatsApp, people want to lure you and take over your WhatsApp. As per Global Financial Crime Report published by NASDAQ and Verifin, In 2023, fraud scams and bank fraud schemes totaled about $485.6 billion in losses globally. You can imagine this is around the size of GDP of countries like Singapore and Philippines. So that's the size a fraud really impacts. Now to shed more light on type of frauds, important frameworks around it, and the standards around it, and various strategies to protect against it, and much more, we are privileged to have a very high-profile speaker with us, who is from our own fraternity, a chartered accountant and a forensic expert, and who has also been the chairman of Western India Regional Council of ICI in 2023 and 24, C. Arpit Kabra ji. Thank you for joining. Big round of applause. अब खड़े हो गए तो सर ताली तो बजा ही दीजिए. And to do his formal introduction, I'd like to request our magnetic ExCom member, everybody knows, C.A. Balram Vichidi. Please join him. Please welcome me onto the stage for the introduction. Thank you.
The essence of forensic accounting is uncovering the truth and protecting the integrity of financial systems. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When I was working with the larger audit firms, so we used to work directly with the partners, audit partners. So they used to give us the review comments. So they used to run to 1 or 2 pages. I also used to work with forensic auditors, forensic partners for audits. So when I work with forensic partners, I used to get a review points of about 10 to 12 pages easily. So that kind of difference we generally have with forensic audits. So though it was a statutory audit. So it is my privilege to introduce C.A. Arpit Kabra, a visionary forensic accountant and investigator. Arpit has reimagined how to add value to clients, transforming outcomes through effective resolutions since his entrepreneurial journey began in 2016. He holds qualifications such as Chartered Accountancy and Company Secretary, with extensive experience from large consulting firms. As the National Head of Forensic and Stressed Asset Advisory at J.C. Kabra and Associates, Arpit has led the practice to become a leading firm in India for forensic and monitoring engagements. His notable achievements include investigating a national asset involving 8 countries and tracing cash trails beyond 26 layers, for which he has been awarded International Excellence Award from the House of Commons, British Parliament. He's going to receive it on 18 July. In fact, he came here on the way to collect the Excellency Award. So thank you for that, in fact, Arpit. Arpit has also served as chairman of WIRC 2023-24 term and made a significant impact through his innovative and tech-savvy approach to the members and students. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming C.A. Arpit Kabra.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, let's have more energy, please. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Just while I get set up, let me do the wonderful thanksgiving to this brilliant branch, one of the most dynamic chapters of the ICI. And can't thank much. A person whom we've all been looking up to, and today God was kind enough to give me a chance to come and maybe talk in front of him. A mentor for so many of us back there in India, so many in Dubai also who look up to him. The chairman of this chapter, Rajesh Ji Somani sir, thank you very much for extending this invitation. And of course, vice chairman, a very dear friend of mine, someone I think past 3-4 years, the time that I've spent in council, I've been looking at him and he's been working so well. And whenever we meet in India or somewhere, it doesn't look like, we are meeting for the first time. I think that's the warmth. Jai Prakash, I think, thank you very much, Jai Bhai. Balramji, thank you very much for being that entire, handling that logistic to this. So I had a scare because the flight was delayed. As rightly mentioned, I was traveling to UK and then this all happened. So I'm speaking here today. Tomorrow I'm speaking at Abu Dhabi. And then taking back, thanks to the Etihad Airways scheme of 2 days free layover. So I'm just using that over here. Indians typically, we know how to take the advantage of whatever schemes are around. So that's what. Rishi, thank you very much. I think let's have a huge round of applause for Rishi. The kind of MOCs that you're doing absolutely fantastic, and all the office bearers. Of course, the eminent speaker who was earlier talking to, and believe me, while he was talking on the last slide, let me first tell you about the iconic frauds that I'll be covering today in my presentation also. The one that he was talking about, Jane and all, is an Aramco ONGC fraud. It's a 197 crore fraud that happened, and it shook the entire segment. Aramco being such a strong company, had to make a payment to ONGC of 197 crore. There was this gentleman by the name Patel DV. That reminds me that today's chief guest also, the deputy CG is Mr. Yatin Patel. So thank you for taking out time and being with us. But there's no similarity, but what happens is, look at the email ID, and therefore a post like Yatin Bhai, how it can be misused. So there was an email called as patel_dv@ongc.co.in, which was interacting with Aramco and wanted to wire a transfer of 197 crores. A gentleman came by the same email ID with patel_dv@ognc.co.in. And the worst part, and the most surprising, the shocking part is, despite having a different bank account details, suddenly an email comes that, please change the bank account, which a usually ONGC account would largely be credited with. No one in Aramco even thought of, isn't that a big red flag? And therefore, went 197 crore in a matter of few seconds to unravel that fraud, to identify the people, because this cannot happen without collusion within the organization. It took almost 8 months. I was part of that, one of the teams that was investigating this, so therefore that happened, but then it's a great learning. As Balram was mentioning, when you work with forensic partners versus statutory auditors, that's the difference. And today, to all the statutory auditors that I'm talking to, let me address and tell you, see, there's a perspective in which we are doing this compliance, but going forward with the kind of AI, with the kind of cyber crimes, with the kind of different things that are happening, one thing is for sure, our auditing patterns, our attestation patterns have to change overnight. And therefore, here we are, and I'm here to tell you and maybe give you an exposure, or maybe invite you to an opportunity to see there are 43 red flags. We don't do any audit attestations in our firms, but we only do diagnostic review. Diagnostic review is just checking these 43 red flags in an organization, and believe me, you don't have to be lucky, because at least you will find 50% of these red flags in every organization. With over 600 plus forensics under my belt in the past, from the COVID 2016-17 onwards, there are only two things that I can say. In this era, in this ecosystem, there are only two kind of companies that we have. One, where the promoters know there is fraud happening, there is leakages happening, and the other, they're not aware that's happening. And therefore, let me invite all of you to this wonderful journey. And before, I think we've had a wonderful session. Today, this presentation, I would want more of your participation, because there are a lot of case studies we are doing, a lot of thought process that you would want to like to apply. But do you know, just to start off, we're doing some AI stuff and all. I want to start with something fun. Is it okay if I do that for you? It's a unique engagement that we recently received, wherein we were asked by a very big production house. I've recently started doing a podcast by the name Victory Talks. Almost 6-7 podcasts that we've done. And there's been a huge appeal from the different entertainment sector in terms of, sir, what all can we do using AI? Now, the warmth about AI, so AI is everywhere. And as the questions that were coming, there is one line of answer. आप लोग सब पूछ रहे थे कि सर ये fraud होते हैं, OTP होता है, SMS होता है. तो उसके लिए हमें हमेशा there is one line that is always given to us. व्यवस्था सरकार देगी आपको, पर अवस्था हमको खुद को बनानी पड़ेगी. And that is the norm. That is gonna happen with the kind of population, the kind of ecosystem that we are in. I think very few of us are enabled enough or empowered enough to actually do something right and rely on the government or rely on any setup to do that right. But I think व्यवस्था सारी government देगी, अवस्था जो है उसको हमको ही बनाना है. And therefore, as a chartered accountant, we have a very, very important role to play. From now on, I see a drastic shift in the evolution of chartered accountancy overall. The role of chartered accountant that will be playing in the overall dynamics of how do we actually present and interpret financial statements. Back there in India, there is a concept called as Agency for Specialized Monitoring, ASM. In ASMs, it has defied the way audits can be done. It has defied how you can actually work on real-time basis in an organization upwards of 250 crore and borrowings above. There, you are no more required to give an audit report. You are every month or a quarterly basis, you are about to give them a proper cash flow report. And there are some around 16 big, very big titles that you are actually monitoring and reporting, including, of course, the use of borrowing funds to the utility and utilization and the payment thereof, realization of debts, who are the creditors, and gone are the days when we are looking at related party as a definition. Now we have come to a beautiful definition called as connected party. That is thanks to the landmark statute of insolvency and bankruptcy code which has come. So things have changed overnight. Things are evolving overnight. We were back there defined, but now we're looking at some wonderful stuff. And so there, out of this nowhere, came a engagement which said, look, we have to design a dance sequence, and it has to be inspired by one of the legends called Michael Jackson. How many of you have heard or seen Michael Jackson dancing on Dangerous, the most legendary video? Right. So here I'm about to share with you a different perspective, what we did. And not we did, this is the AI engine we did. Today's presentation also is prepared by an AI, Gamma. Let me not take away the credit. So gamma.ai is a website that has helped me draft this beautiful presentation today. Oh, it's beautiful for me. I don't know. You may have a different, but let's reconcile that at the end. And Rajesh ji, please give me the feedback. Jai bhai, you can give me a better one, biased one, thoda sa. But yes, if I request the team to please play the first video, please focus on.
For those of us who like living dangerously, this one's for you.
अब गर्दा उड़ेगा भैया
हे राजा जी ए राजा जी ए राजा जी ए करे तराहल हाजरूरत मूरत खूबसूरत हो हे राजा जी ए करे तराहल हाजरूरत मूरत खूबसूरत हो हे राजा जी ए करे ताराहल हाजरूरत मूरत खूबसूरत.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good start, but you know what has happened is they wanted to know what if Michael Jackson was alive today, and the kind of moves that he did then, if this was a song, and very soon you'll find a wonderful song coming up. So Rajaji's Panchayat mein bhi, I don't know if you've seen that web series, but you know it's a very popular web series, and there this song has overnight become a very big hit. They are trying to bring out Michael Jackson on a folk music again, and this is that engagement. If you would see, there are some forced hand movements, forced neck movements, which people who would have seen Dangerous earlier would not have seen here. So for example, while he is moving on with an elbow, you will see twice doing, because there is a beat, twice that beat is coming. The AI has ensured that this guy, Michael Jackson ki atma mein shanti de, he actually does that twice. In Dangerous, he does that only half. And then the moonwalk is gone. He does one deadly moonwalk in this, but that didn't go on this theme, so there was no chance. So instead, what they've done is they've used his neck drop kind of a. So what I'm trying to tell you is, while we're talking about frauds, I think we have to be very much careful about what's going to happen with now AI, with technologies like this coming in. How would you even differentiate from the genuine, from the fraud, from the fake, from just an altered, manipulated database? In fact, today, if any of you are an independent director somewhere, or you are on an executive audit committee or somewhere, the biggest question in the boardroom today is, whose data is right? You'll have the same set of data. वही tally है, वही ERP है, वही SAP है. Just Hindi is okay for all, or should I avoid? It's okay, right? Okay, fine, good. At least participation, I got a participation, so good. Of course, this is just for the participation sake. Now the important point is, again, since you are in audit committee, the same ERP, same integration, same set of data, if you'll give to 5 people who have to present a report based on that data, you'll find different findings from that report. That happened recently in a very big FMCG company, and therefore, overnight, they've decided to give away their entire audit, their accounting department, to hive off to another organization, and the CFO is now free. Just imagine the basis on which you'll take some decisions is gonna create havoc if the data and the manipulations, therefore, are incorrect. Let's move ahead to today's topic. I'll have to, how does it work? Sorry. Green, okay. Now this is also an AI generated image. As I said, it is Gamma. So this presentation was done. So I've largely used, since I've been doing a lot of this, there's this, I think, I don't know, it's not visible clearly, but the website name is also there. It generates everything. And there is one important thing as well. More importantly, please, if you are around, keep making notes somewhere. Take some value add, take something, because what I understand is, forensic must be very good to hear. It must be very good to, like a sci-fi movie or something like that. We'll talk about a lot of sensational things. But there would be something that would be applicable in your own workspace. But if you don't write it down, if you don't talk about it, if you don't talk to anyone about it, probably it will go away maybe by the time the night ends. So if you want to retain it, please talk about it or please write it somewhere. And those notepads are therefore must. Also keep asking questions if there are any. I'll have a lot of slides wherein you'll have to keep giving me some inputs. So, and Rajesh, can I offer some prizes also? There are some very critical inputs. If someone of you give, I think, I'll be happy to extend it from the chapter onwards. It could be a dairy milk silk or whatever, but something to take away with, if you allow. Thank you. All right. Now this is a famous thing, green flag, I'm sure you all have seen this on Netflix, a green flag, red flag. Believe me, if you are moving even without observing a red flag, if you're moving ahead, it's almost you're killing yourself. In this mega web series, those persons, after red light, if they're moving, they are shot dead on the spot without even identifying, without even seeing a slightest movement is gone. Believe me, from now on, today's world, we'll have a lot of this happening. And therefore, the importance as a chartered accountant to start looking and noticing at red flags will make a huge, huge impact. And therefore, I'm trying to bring in a lot of fun element and the studies together. Keep checking for these red flags. It's absolutely about it from now onwards with blockchains coming in. Let me tell you, let me take, since Bank of Baroda is here, so the largest bank, for example, in India is SBI. A bank which I am aware of, a US bank, which is 8 times the size of SBI, does not believe in test check. It gets 100% checking done through blockchain. One of the auditors of that bank, when they mentioned, they said auditing is all about looking at exception reporting. Each and every transaction can be checked by a blockchain. All you need to do is, each of you as a chartered accountant will have to now develop the ability of reading a report, which is an exception report, and then probably take an informed decision, which no other robot can do because that EQ is missing in them. So AI, for example, or a mechanized stuff, for example, so when we do forensic, so recently that we did 26 layers, when we were working for one of the biggest agencies now in India, it led to money flowing from Glasgow to some wonderful places all across, known for their beautiful beaches. But yes, that can only happen because of some exception reporting, which throws from a 100% check. Otherwise, it is humanly not possible, one. And second, if you decide not to use that, if you decide not to learn those technologies, probably you are then replaced. or otherwise you need them so that you can become more finessed. So what are we gonna talk about today quickly? Look at these animations. These are all, so gone are the days now PPTs are there. So canvas were there, and now there'll be AIs who will develop these presentations for you. In fact, your use of colors, they will talk a lot about how you want to set up the mood in the presentation. Since I'm talking in the evening, and that too on a Monday, must be a heavy day, I've used a color palette, which I'll give you at the end, and I'll tell you why these color palettes have a scientific impact on our thought process also, because I need more of you to participate. None of these colors you will see in day-to-day life. So background, why and where forensics, then approach for conducting audits, case studies and illustrations, and key takeaways and strategies. I think that is what Rishi Bhai also mentioned at the start. And Rishi Bhai, therefore, I have, that's the wavelength on which we are vibing already. Huh? All right. These are riot of colors, again, thanks to AI. So what's the background? Now, forensic audit is simple one. Anything and everything that has to do with evidence, which can be produced in the court of law. If you have taken anything without any mandate, without any legal procedures, that is not an evidence. That is not an evidence at all in the court of law. And believe me, while you are standing as a forensic accountant in a court of law against a company, against a fraud, you will be harassed mentally, physically, and everything by a battery of lawyers who are paid 10 times your amount just to grill and make you or force you to do one mistake. And the honorable judge therefore says, it's waste of my time, let's move on. In one of the classic cases where a chartered accountant was representing and these harassment was going on, these interactions are going on. How many lawyers in the house, by the way? Thank God. Then I can go. No, because they are paid anyways. Therefore, believe me, he did one thing right in front of that judge. He said, look, Mr. XYZ, what is your qualification? From which organization? I'm a chartered accountant of the ICI. We are a regulator, part of the legacy. We have done the standard setting, we've done this. And you are challenging me on what to read in an accounting statement, what to read in a bank statement. I think you must go back and see whether that accreditation, the college that has given you as an LLB is still valid or not. On record, he fired him up. Of course, it was very offensive, but the judges were at splits. He said, I think you cannot challenge, when it comes to accounting, you cannot challenge a chartered accountant. You cannot challenge if there is some window dressing done or when there is some engineering done in finance, you cannot challenge him. So please get your line of questioning in. And it's a quoted thing in one of these very, very big IBC cases where fraud was declared, but of course, due to the play of dynamics, that report was prejudiced and kept aside. And our banking system, the way it works, they are all struggling to keep away those. So now this is what it is. It's just a theory, but I've written something for you all to look at. It's a discipline you're taking up as a financial expertise, which we have, fraud knowledge, which definitely we have, and a sound knowledge and understanding to business reality. Now, this is something very important. What are those key ground realities that, are those transactions that are must? Some JVs that are being passed, which are must. Some credit systems that we use, some LCs documents that we use, whatever that XYZ. Now, if they are must in a trade, for example, there is one very big company. It is usually said when you have to transact with that company, there are agents appointed by that company, and there will be absolutely no LC discounting available with that company. It is said that if you want to be very successful in your life, pray to God that you become an agent of this company in the next birth, because you'll have the best time ever. So they enjoy the entire credit period, they have a monopoly, and they will not even give you the extension of that credit period. You have to be at a very, very minuscule payment terms with them. And you have to yet supply because there's a huge volume that they will take from you. But the point is, you need to understand that. And every banking system therefore understands that. And whenever that is pointed out as an exception, you pass it on because you said, okay, this is an accepted industry practice and it is very much valid. This company recently had a very large wedding in the country. So forensic audit can be conducted in order to prosecute a party for fraud, embezzlement, or other financial claims. Okay. In addition, an audit may be conducted to determine negligence and is examination of firms, entities, or individuals' financial information for use as evidence in court. Now, this is critical because how do you get that information is of the most important value. So this is all about evidences. Let's move on to, these are some wonderful, I think, and therefore 100 marks to the institute for realizing the kind of variety that's happening in forensic, and therefore we've come out with some standards. So these are, 101, 110, 20, 30, 40. These are one series. They are like more like a procedural part. And these are wonderful forensic accounting and very on self basis you can do. I would love all of you to please understand, come to this evidence and documentation 320. So 3110, 320, they are absolutely fabulous. You can put that into practice in your own audit engagements as well. It will give you a different edge altogether. Somewhere, rest, I don't know, maybe it will be relevant or not. This is what would be important, 360, reporting requirements and data analysis, 510. Now, this is freely available on the ICI website. There's some other courses also that is available on our SSP. Please use that. It's a very good, in fact, ask your staff, ask people whom you are responsible towards to undergo that exercise through your logins on SSP. It's a wonderful module that they've developed. And suppose if you're dealing with something on loans and borrowings, there's a particular investigation standard, and how do you actually approach to that standard? So this is a very comprehensive standards, the first in the world by ICI. So I think thanks to ICI for coming on this. In the same breath, let me also tell you one critical development that's going to happen very soon. Let me ask you one thing, and I think most of you will answer this because you're sitting in a place where there is abundance of this product. Back in 1970s, there was this one commodity that revolutionized the way the entire world was looking up to at some of the nations, at some of the ecosystem, and some of the financial systems. Perfect. Petroleum. Now, there are three attributes to this petroleum. One, it was only available with select countries, select geographies. So they had, absolute right of extraction and all of that. Second, this commodity could not be used in raw format. It was supposed to be always processed. So you cannot use a raw oil, right? You process it, and then there are so many other things that come out. And third, there were some countries which controlled the entire production, sale, and the entire dynamics, the financial ecosystem of this product, thanks to different political controls. Now, in 2024, there is another commodity which will be of the same caliber. There are only few countries that produces the maximum amount of this commodity. Second, you cannot, of course, I heard it right. Second, it cannot be used in raw format. You have to process it, you have to analyze it. And third, there'll be a war that will control this commodity. What is it that I'm talking of? Absolutely data. It was said that we produce one Australia every 4 years. In data perspective, we produce 8 Australias every year. That's the kind of data we have. In fact, there is a company called Clearview.ai. It has around 5,000 people working for them back there. They only do one thing. The moment you post something on the social media, it just downloads it and keeps it. It's just archiving, it's just creating a warehouse of photographs and data. Now that's going to be a very, very strict, and that's going to be a very dangerous situation because our data will be with someone else. So therefore, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act is going to be a big revolution again. This will be a very, very big, and therefore, just as we've done AI on FAIS, I think we will now also start working because, again, oil as a commodity when it came, it brought a revolution. The same revolution can be brought about by this data once it starts becoming commodity. And we are the best people to work in that space as well. And let me therefore invite you to please start warming up yourself to this brilliant opportunity that may come in. Because there you'll require attestation, there you'll require litigation, there you'll require every sort of certification that you are compliant with DPDP Act or you're compliant with this and that. And therefore this data is, so there are two concepts called as data fiduciary and a data principal. So not divulging into that, but yes, because of FAIS, I'm also taking maybe, and there very soon we'll have ICI leadership coming and saying about DPDP standards to ensure data protection also very soon. But yes, so these are something really very good. I think you can spend a lot of time. It's a plain theory, you can read it. It's available freely. I think I can share that database also, but it's good to read them and use them, apply them in your perspective. Now, these are the audits. It's a regular thing, but you know, just for someone who's absolutely at the basics, I thought let me produce this. One thing that is important is it is not period based. In a other audit, you will have 1 or 2 year period. In a forensic audit, you will have a larger period, maybe a 6 year, 8 years, maybe more than that. From the time that borrowing was given, from the time an activity was done, from the time there was an expansion done, from the time there was capex done. And then transaction audits, there's largely 2 year, but under section 66 of the Insolvency Business IBC Act, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, you extend that to as many years as possible. So therefore, that is the larger difference over here. There's no test check, there's no materiality concept in forensics. That is the key. And as I said earlier, there was no such set pattern. There was no regular reporting mechanism. Of course, it's not now, but with FAIS, there is some sense to the madness. So that people, the stakeholders can also understand and read from what basis and how, what perspective all of these have come out. Our other audits are largely statutory compliance based. These are only and only cash flow based. So the propriety element is what we are checking over here. Now fraud as per various statutes, classic, section 447 of the Companies Act, and the other ones are also here. But one thing that will have the roast out of all of this is the RBI circular in 1st July 2016, which is of course revised now, that talks about your red flags, 43 red flags. Now that's the key, that's the motive. We should start using those in our day-to-day activities. I'm talking about that, I'll be talking about all of that next. But yes, if you are into audits, if you are into any of these reporting requirements, if you are into any of this, as rightly mentioned earlier, when you're working with a forensic partner, you'll have a different perspective. This 43 red flags will give you a different perspective, and I'll give you a fantastic opportunity. Start talking about diagnostic reviews, whether you are an auditor or not, whether that independence check is there or not. Let's start working on diagnostic review. Let's talk to a promoter, let's talk to the audit executive head, the chairman of the audit committees, and tell them, look boss, let us give you a report on these compliances, that's it. There are 43 red flags, let us give you this. And a wonderful report, an MIS should be developed, a dashboard using Power BI with every aspect, be it expenses, you'll find something, be it income, you'll find something, be compliances, you'll find something. The dashboard becomes dynamic. That's how you integrate AI also in this. I'll set up that also for you. But these are largely the guidelines, the framework to do forensic audits. And that is what I have brought it out. Now, this is explanation 1 to 4. Fraud is defined under explanation 1 to section 447. In relation to affairs of a company or any body corporate, includes any act, omission, concealment of any fact or abuse of position committed by any person or any other person with the connivance in any manner with intent to deceive, to gain undue advantage from, or to injure the interest of the company or its shareholder. Everything has to be, so it's beautiful. The definition is absolutely perfect. It talks about who, why, what, and how. All the questions, very, very well complied. And while you're doing this, anything that you find out can be fit into this definition very easily. That becomes a more robust kind of a reporting requirement for us. ऐसा नहीं है कि someone will tell you that अरे यार this doesn't fall in this definition, this cannot be considered. You cannot bring it on black and white. No. Even if there is a case like an Ashneer Grover, wherein आपके साले, so your brother-in-laws or someone, your relatives are taking away money under the garb of recruitment, referral fees, that comes here as well. Undue advantage. Everything comes here. Wrongful gain and wrongful loss, these are all defined under the Companies Act. Now this is as per in the 399, Article 399 of federal law, where it talks about whoever captures for himself or for others transferable money or documents, or signing such document, cancelling, damaging, or amending it through trickery. This is wonderful, huh? Through trickery. So the malified intention is being captured here. Now again, so these are the two differences between both this, but yes, whatever we are going to do today will stand the test of both of these requirements. There's no, and these are explanations, so therefore there is no repercussion, but here, since it's an article, they've pointed out the jail or a fine, and I'm sure you all know what a jail or fine in Dubai means or a UAE means. So that's how. Now these are some corporate frauds. Now what I'm going to tell you is give you some backgrounds on what all happens in corporate frauds, and then we'll go to some good case studies, and let's figure out what all can happen keeping this in mind. If you have any questions, let me know. These are self-explanatory slides. These are largely based on case studies that has come out, where all are the frauds that are lying, what all aspects there are leakages happening. See, whether a fraud or not, if a leakage, let's talk about leakage as a general term, and that is an empowering word, because if you find out leakage, there's a value add, and Mr. Dinesh Thakur should be the biggest inspiration for all of us. Anyone knows Dinesh Thakur? Wow. So we'll talk about it. Sir, what's your name, sir? Ramu, sir. Ramu, sir, you will remind me to talk about Dinesh Thakur after we end this, so that people stay back. Otherwise, it's time, so they might. All right. So unauthorized use, personal purchases, ghost employees, asset theft, tax avoidance, skimming. These are the larger ones. How that happens is this slide. Let me take ahead next. Now, what are the type of frauds? Theft, corruption, conflict of interest, misrepresentation of financial statements. Now, largely in this last category, we are all victims, because what are we being served? As I said, whose data is right? In a recent bank example, you've seen an entire set of books maintained in Excel was given to an auditor. Now, poor that auditor, what does he do? If not rely on that promoter to give him the final statements. I mean, he cannot step into the shoes and start looking at things. Of course, there was a huge erosion of stakeholders' value, but I think the entire mechanism failed. Tax may we always say, if the computation mechanism fails, the entire mechanism therefore falls down. Here also, the basis, the trust, the management represent, everything goes off for a toss. The worst part is, what is the repercussion of this on the promoters? I'm sure there would be many, but largely, the auditor has to face the wrath in the society, and that's uncalled for. With NAFRA also now getting into action, we compare it to other professionals and say that, if a doctor on a surgery table kills someone because of negligence, even if proved or not proved, I don't know, but what is the action that we take on him? And here, when we are being given something which is not correct, and based on which we have produced something, or we have done editing, or we have done reporting on that, the kind of fines, the kind of penalties, I think that's very massive. So I think these are some conversations we need to have, but yes. So these are some of the frauds, and again, here is those master directions, classification reporting on 1st July 16. I've kept it 1st July 16 because that's the original thing. Of course, it has revised now, but largely the scheme is the same, the theme is the same, the substance is the same. Any questions on so far? If I'll ask, I need a response, so yes, no. Are you there? Hello? Thank you. Okay. Now, what are the fraud risk prone areas? Now, this is something I think every management should have this in front of them. What are the areas that we should look at specifically while we are reviewing, while we are getting things audited, while we are getting things worked out for someone? This is something that we need to actually work on. Every aspect is a half-an-hour session. Every aspect is a half-an-hour session. And each one of you can take it. And therefore, let me therefore invite you to, with the kind of work that this chapter is doing, each of you should take this opportunity to fulfill what I term as dip. Let me use a little Hindi here. अगर पुण्य कमाना है अपन को तो कहते हैं गंगा में डुबकी लेके आओ. If you want to earn some good deeds, you have to take a dip in the water of holy Ganga. We always say that. Or dip matlab, Somani ji, aise itna nahi hota. Pura, you have to really go down, come up. Now, anything that you want to do as a good, a propriety part or something like this, you have to take a dip. Now, what is dip? D is you draft well. I is you interpret well. And P is the most critical, you present it well. Most of you, if you don't present it, you're not getting that punya. Oh, pura nahi ho raha, there's just this much. It's an analogy that I've drawn, which is must for all of us now. Because until unless we present, see, we are good at drafting, we are good in interpretation, we are doing everything right. But until unless you are not able to present it well, use this platform. Use these people who are volunteers who are working day and night to ensure that, all of you, I think each one of you should try and become an MOC. Each one of you should play a role here and, be a support to the entire chapter also. But yes, one thing is for right, you have to present yourself. Be it in your offices, be it any places, anywhere. Until unless you're doing that, you will not be able to enrich yourself totally. Now, these are some of these, and okay, these are inclusive. Largely, we have found these kind of issues, but there are so many else also that we'll now see in different case studies that will come by. Now, these are bank frauds. I'm not limiting myself to bank frauds, but since sir is also here, probably he would also concur with me. So, larger reason, diversion and siphoning. Diversion means you put it to somewhere else and thought that it will come back in time. To maybe return or to maybe showcase that yes, we have deployed that money, the borrowing that we have taken in somewhere. But unfortunately, due to some play of dynamics, that return doesn't happen because everywhere there is requirement now. The worst part is, before you take the bank's portion, you already actually use the earlier bank's portion to showcase your own contribution and get another bank's equity infused. Now that is where this entire system collapses. Of course, there is no way that you can identify because money doesn't have color. You don't know whether that was originally a bank-infused fund or it is the promoter's own fund. But again, the red flags circular will help you in that as well. I'll showcase that to you here. Willful and siphoning. Siphoning means, totally out of the system. Systematically out of the system. Nigeria oil wells, Australian coal fields, diamonds. So these are all, therefore, real estates. These are all places where, money is absolutely gone out of the system. There is no chance of it to return back. No reincarnation also possible. That can definitely be identified with the simple area of identifying whom these transactions, whom these payments are being made to. And therefore, the definition of connected parties becomes very, very relevant for all of us over here. Section 219 of the IBC. Stop yourself to restrict, stop restricting yourself to only a related party definition. Now we have to go beyond that. And therefore, the connected party becomes a very, very important case study for all of us. We'll talk about that also. Willful non-payment of bank by funds, this we know. Non-effective due diligence of borrowers, influence to banking employees for sanctioning of loans. We've seen so many examples of this. And non-effective banking management, multiple examples of this. Ingredients for fraud of mischief, an individual, a very ambitious individual. And I have seen this as a pattern. If there is someone who is too holy, too much afraid, as a God-fearing person, it's a red flag. Because if a promoter was out there to take a risk, to take a bet, it has to be on his skills. But if he's there because, hey Bhagwan, I'm just taking a plunge. Too much, so we always say this, too much is of a red flag. Too good to be a true scenario is a larger definition. But this is one thing that has come out very well. If anyone who's very, very, I'm not saying that it is wrong to be religious, but I'm saying if it is too much and where it is replacing your skill sets in actually taking business decisions, I think that is where you'll have to understand and flag off that probably this is not the right thing. Ideas, ambition, and nothing to lose is one of those people, kar lo duniya muthi mein types. Connects advisor and vision, a set of people who he has around him. Largely we are, all driven by individuals, driven by people, driven by the company that we keep. probably it is very easy to identify and maybe flag off. In the tax ecosystem today, there's an unsaid kind of a network which identifies how these corrupt or fake registrations are coming up. And consultants are helping them do that. The moment they identify this name or this brand, probably they say, sir, please understand this may be a fake invoicing, fake money routing mechanism. And the department is largely very, they've shown some wonderful results. So it's like a pseudo forensics, a deemed forensic that is happening in the market now, thanks to some consultants working very closely with the departments as well. The banks can do that as well. I think here, since Bank of Baroda is here, one of the biggest bank in Dubai, we worked for Bank of Baroda also in Dubai. 3 big companies, of course I don't want to name them, but very big names that we've worked in forensics over here. That is one strategy that you can deploy before you are, you're deploying funds or before you're anything. Maybe one of those consultants, because you give engagements to so many auditors, maybe you can have a check basis that, are these individuals right or not? An informal, unofficial check, which usually happens, but that is something that's like a pseudo forensic, could be a standard engagement. Nowadays, stock audits, for example, has become a very specialized engagement. Stock and deliverable audit, which earlier, stock and receivable, SRA, is now become a very sensitive and a focused engagement by bankers deploying it very strategically for some engagements, for some entities, thanks to the ASM framework that has come under ease norms. Relatives, people, infrastructure, and all of this. So that's about it. Now, this is where I want all of your role now. Now, there are some anomalies. Before I go to case studies, I would like to invite all of you to find out anomalies here and pick out 3 top anomalies, very unique ones. If they are found out, one gift from each one gift from the chapter. Sorry? Tiger with horns, right? 1, okay. The clock. So what is in the clock? More than 12. Correct. Good observation. The tower is not leaning, which is right. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, correct. Is it clear? I don't know. You can visualize it, right? Okay. So 3, yes. Pocket dictionary is too big. Very nice. Very good. Windows. What is on Windows? Brilliant. Yeah. Very nice. One is outside, one is inside. Very nice. Okay. This one? Which one? No, sir, that is okay. That's a chandelier kind of knowledge, sir. Just sorry? Yes. The guitar has a sitar up. So it's a fusion kind of instrument which is abnormal. Please, sir. Sorry? Wonderful. Very good. The chessboard is incorrect. Yes, please. Yeah, it's done. Sorry, you missed the chocolate. How much ever I want to give, but I can't. Yes. Huh? The dog? Brilliant. The first chocolate goes to him, sir. What's your name, sir? Please have a round of applause. So this dog, it's like a Dalmatian. It has a polka dots. But the tail is like of a tiger. Very hard to find out because the cushions are also camouflaged. Good one. Sir? This one? What is that? It is correct, no, sir? This one you said, right? Is it? This is new for me. Amazing. I didn't realize this. It's the generation gap, I don't know, can someone certify this, please? We have to rely on the work of an expert. There's an observation. Is that right or not? Is it right? It's the second chocolate, therefore. A bigger one. So what's your name? Venkatji. Please have a round of applause for Venkatji, please. Very detailed. Sorry, huh? Very nice. Yes, you're right. Sorry, Punch magazine. नहीं sir, that is okay, that is right. वो Charlie Chaplin है. There was someone who said some pair of scissors. So what's with that? Very nice. Yes, you're right. It has to be opposites. Very good. Sorry? Wonderful, man. Great. चश्मा किसने बोला ये? किसी और का था? कौन था? What's your name, please? Pratik. So what's your name? Please have a round of applause for both of them, please. Now this is an aquarium. Wow. Wonderful, really. I mean, what a focus crowd we have, sir. Huh? Yes, sir, that is done. But that was already done, yes. You're right. Now, there's only one very major observation that is... Need two more. Sleeves ho gaya? They said, someone said. Huh? Where? Wheel? That one? Maharaja. It's like stands only. नहीं wheel नहीं है सर, वो stand ही बना हुआ है. But it's giving you an impression of wheel, but it's not a wheel. Inside. All right, yes. सर वो hidden है. वो hidden है. Read between the lines. So, but you are right, huh? There is something there. So please find out. Sorry? Oh yes, Surbhi's got that right. Please have a... There's chappal and there's one shoe in the portrait. The Maharaja is... yeah. So let's have a round of applause for Surbhi and of course sir also. तो आपने सही डायरेक्शन दिखाया, एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ने उसको पकड़ लिया. It can be a fusion. सर महाराजा है. रॉयल्टी को तो छोड़ना पड़ेगा. So this and now one more. Sorry, please come on. Sorry. So that's a library. There are books. हाँ मतलब वो books है सर वो. Near the clock, right? हाँ. Sleeve हो गया सर. आपके बाजू में उन्होंने भी वही बोला आगे diagonally opposite में. Window हो गया सर. Window हो गया. हाँ please. The rope. नहीं सर that is this guy वो जो हमारे मोटू पतलू है वो he is having that. Sorry? Sir वो हो गया, we got that. Now this last, let me now give you a focus. This last, because we don't have much time therefore. This, sorry? हाँ सर वो पर वो डॉग के लिए एक्चुअली कैमोफ्लेज था. कुशन कवर्स तो वी कैन कीप फैंसी है सर, सेट फैशन है वो तो. नहीं, now it is an interpretation, game of interpretation. Please understand. You will not find it visible here. You'll have to, there's a story, you'll have to build up a story. There's an interpretation involved now. और इसमें दो ऑब्जर्वेशंस ऑलरेडी आ चुके हैं, उन दोनों को मिक्स करके अपन को एक थर्ड ऑब्जर्वेशन आएगा विच विल बी द बेस्ट अवार्ड टुडे. Sorry? Where is mobile phone, sir? There is no mobile phone. नहीं. Now you could go and say, sir, May 1980 के उसमें भी कैलेंडर में डिफॉल्ट है अभी. I cannot even check that now. There could be one, but now it's an interpretation that we are into, So it's not a... It's an analysis now. Sorry? The dog on the couch. नहीं हो गया ना वो तो. Tail, those different fashionable dog. At the wrong place. Why? See, this guy is looking at Maharaja. This guy is looking at books. This guy is looking at the chess. No. I don't know. What's your name, madam? What is? Nikita, let's have a round of applause for Nikita. I think she's done out of the box thing, yeah. Larger only दो ही लोग ना क्यों आप लोग नाराज हो निकिता से यार? Come on, please. सब लोग तालियां बजाओ ना एक बार. See, it will keep you awake, यार. Actually, that's the point. हाँ, sir. Sorry. The old man says. नहीं सर है पीछे सपोर्ट ये है सर देयर इज अ सपोर्ट हियर अब सर वो सोफे के पीछे चला गया है हाँ Oh, good one, sir, good one. But that's not the right. Let's have a round of applause for this gentleman, please. So, what's your name, sir? शाह शाहजहां मुमताज को ढूंढ के लाओ ताजमहल नहीं बनाएंगे हाँ it's more like a museum kind of thing मतलब it's चलो let me हाँ नहीं so let me now spill the beans give it up देखो गूगल करके आंसर मत ढूंढना इसको प्लीज यूज ऑफ एआई यहाँ पर नहीं होना चाहिए जिनके पास सैमसंग है वो सर्कल करेंगे उसको आंसर मिल जाएगा गूगल से इट्स नॉट राइट window designs are someone covered, but window design is a right. You have to use window design, and you have to use one more thing to identify. हाँ sir. Wow! Big round of applause, please. Huge one. What's your name, sir? Huh? Sujit. All right. So you see, there's 1 o'clock in the watch. How can you have sun and the horizon? Huh? Norway also, sir, you will not find like this, sir. Norway, where you will not find these 3 people in Maharaja there. The observations don't. Sorry. So it's a museum, sir. The clock is anyways dysfunctional. That is one of the observations. Now you have to use that and the window outside. Because see, that's thinking out of the box. All of you must be focusing in the room. Now you have to go out of the box. Where Nikita made an attempt to go, but you have to go a little bit more outside. So great. Let's have a huge round of applause for all of you, please. Louder, yaar. Come on. Let's show some energy, everyone. Come on. All right. Thank you. So this is what I bring you back to the game. Identifying observations. Now nothing's for fun. All you need to do is there are something that are visibly wrong, and you need a team effort for that. Not all of you would realize this. You need a team effort for that. And second is maybe you will require someone who will give you a direction to look into this. And therefore you need to have one of those people. And third, of course, out of the box. The most difficult ones are the ones that come last. Don't quit before that. Forensic audits is exactly the same. It is an absolute dull exercise. Because you don't know where to go, in which direction to go. There is no report, there is no format, there is no framework that you have to come out with. You have to keep brainstorming, keep involving, keep discussing, keep having more and more discussions like these, negate them, refute them, and therefore final conclusions will come from there. But all has to go through one guideline. There has to be one systematic trainer, consultant, or someone who's taking you that, and therefore this is what happens. Now let me show you. These are all the ones that we found out. The typewriter, of course, Venkat, thanks very much. I'll now include that also. I didn't have that. Yeah, moving on next. Now how much time do I have, sir? Sorry. Half an hour more? So I'll have to rush a little quicker. All right. Now these are the steps. Sure, absolutely. I'm asking them out only. So my friend Rishi says, there are a lot of questions that people will ask. Please feel free to ask questions now only. As I said, take whatever that you want immediately. Don't wait till the end. शायद तब तक भूल भी जाओगे. शाहजहां साहब ठीक है ना? Immediately you'll have to ask those questions, yeah? So initialization, develop a plan, obtain relevant observations, perform the analysis, reporting, evidence testing and investigation, one of the most critical aspects. Because here is where you will actually check within yourself. You'll have to have an expert asking you, before you put it in a report, before you sign a report and send it, hey, look, are you able to justify this in a court of law? And then comes, after 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, I don't know when, legal court proceedings. And you have to be fresh. You have to keep that fresh. Two things you'll have to do. One, give evidence of what analysis you've done. Now, for example, how many of you are very good in Excel here? Anyone? Sir, since I saw your hand, what's your name, sir? Sriram. Sriram, sir, one question. If I give you a report and you've done some 15, 20 analysis, and 5 years afterwards, if I ask you what analysis you've done on the report, would you be able to, or how would you be able to justify what analysis you've done? You've done a VLOOKUP, you've done a pivot, you've done a if analysis, you've done some formulas, all of this. Word document. How many of you, sir, who would you, this is now I'm saying after 5 years, but if there is no 5 years, you don't know if there is more 5 years and then they'll be questioning someone. How many of you actually do this? You record the steps, whatever you done analysis. Anyone you do that? I've not seen, I've not come across anyone. But Sri Ram Prabhu aap hai, to therefore let me, since I'm here, let me take this opportunity to even, give you a window and give you a wonderful tool which does this automatically. See, I'm a guy who's like a tech geek. I mean, one thing that my mantra is, anything that is repetitive and monotonous, automate it. Simple. Sir, please. Sir, macros made records, but how will you bring out ki ye hua tha recording? How do you know? You'll have to run that again. But do you think that file would still be there after 5 years in your, you'll have the result finally, but you'll not have it. Please start using Power Query. The Power Query records every step that you're doing. Till the time that file is there, you will have that query inbuilt. And that will be the biggest evidence of what analysis you've done in that Excel file. And I would request the chapter, please do a full-fledged session on how to use Power Query, because it is the basic. Now you have to move ahead of Excel and start doing that. With chat GPTs and with manipulators now everywhere, please start recording what is happening in your analysis. It could be a wonderful thing if you are making a report to a management, and in the end, there is an annexure which says a snapshot of what analysis we've done, so that is a sacrosanct example of, if anyone wants to raise fingers at me, please look into the annexure. These are the analysis. Please tell me what is wrong in that analysis. Maybe I'll rectify it. I may not be wrong, but this is what I've done. If you have an alternative, let me know. In forensics, we always use a terminology called as hash verification. So when we get the data, we verify the hash, and when we actually deliver the results, we actually recreate the hash. Both of them has to be the same. If not, that means I've tampered with the data. That becomes the biggest question in legal court proceedings. So please, develop the ability to start learning Power Query. It's very simple. It's just like, as, sir, what's your name, sir? Vipul bhai mentioned macros. It's macros on steroids. Absolutely. It's a wonderful, powerful tool, and you'll love using it. And I'm not saying that you start using it. Deploy someone who uses it. Make it a habit in your office to, get it to, start using it. It's wonderful. It's actually brilliant. I can give you one YouTube session also, and then you can watch it. It's there on my YouTube as well, but I'll send you one, how to clean up an accounting data, and it's just fabulous. Okay, now bird eye view of approach. What do we do in forensics largely? So preliminary analysis, I'll talk about what is preliminary analysis. There's bank statement analysis, financial statement, and market intelligence background check. This is where a good forensic auditor is where will stand out. Rest three, maybe the bank statement again is a test of like what Sriram and Vipul would do, bring in the best of the Excel capabilities. So bank statement analysis is different, and this is different. This is where you can stand out from the rest. There's a competitive advantage here. And how does that happen? And these are your typical outcomes. So one is, of course, there is a window dressing or manipulation of financial statements. very easy for us to identify. We are the best people to get this done. And there are just around, I don't think so, more than around 20, 22 odd signs of, identifying this. Then there are these diversion of funds, as I said. Then there is siphoning of funds. And there is one very rare case of genuine losses due to some government policies, coal policy being, eradicated, coal mines, jo allot hone thi, those allotment were cancelled, infra projects were cancelled, whatever happened in Andhra Pradesh types, so all of that. So that is one separate thing, but this is largely the one typical outcome would be this. So you're, that, sorry? So there's genuine loss, no, because I have done a capex based on, see, that's not a fraud. I'm saying that will be an outcome of our review, and therefore that is not a fraud. So these three would be, in fact, the first one may not be fraud. Unless there is some material advantage or material thing that you've taken up. There is something that, due to some corporate reasons or, so for example, let me talk about capital payments that you have to do to governments. If for that you have done some manipulation, I think that is understandable. That's not a fraud. It's just to be surviving the ecosystem. These are not frauds, these are outcomes. So your report, largely you will have these four as a, final result. वो कहते ना, अर्जुन जब तीर चलाता है, so वो चिड़िया की आँख, that is what is required. Yeah? Oh, sorry, I mixed. I mixed Dronacharya ji and, sir, both of the same. Arjun तो चिड़िया की आँख पे मारता है, राम जी मछली की आँख पे मारते हैं. All right? Aag is the laksh. Is that the point? All right. Now, initial steps. The first one, if I were to just go back, the preliminary analysis. Now, this is what we do in preliminary analysis. Company profiling, your Zoba Corps, your Pro 42. Pro 42 is a very good solution now. And so many else that you need now will be the first step. And then there is promoter group and directors profiling. This will lead to the identification of key individuals. Here, let me tell you, you should also identify who are the promoters' drivers. Yeah, and a very good term that came in South Africa World Cup, that is WAGs, wives and girlfriends. Even that has to be brought out very well. They are largely holding some or the other key position. Their email IDs are largely used for various registrations. So those people, those things should be our first priority analysis. The one document that brings out everything. So one Excel should be, it's more like a referencing thing. All of these key characters comes in one place, and then you start identifying where all these things are occurring in your, as you progress towards the analysis. Common directorships, their friends, their families becoming directors in other entities, those entities, they would have something or the other common, be it email ID, be it an address, be it whatever. See, for example, money is the biggest thing that you'll have. How would you control it? You cannot give it to anyone else. You'll only give it to those people whom you have control over. Now you identify which other people you have control over. I'm sure Shahjahan साहब, मुमताज़ जी के ऊपर तो आपका control भी नहीं होगा. So wives पे control नहीं होगा, but therefore wives' brothers, Saleh साहब, they are the most brilliant characters in the entire story here in forensics. And all of that will happen, but these are some basic things that you'll have to keep in mind. Who I can entrust with keeping control of my funds. I have control over them so that they can, the way I want it, they will do this with the funds. Now this is one example, just running out of time, so otherwise I would have invited you also to do this. This is a one case study. So there are companies, for example, if you can read this preliminary and read the family tree of the borrower, which indicates the bank fund had given loans to company 1, 2, and 3, which were related to target company, being investigated and had circular movement of funds. Further analysis indicates that all of these companies were in unrelated businesses. Now, this is how you typically identify a family structure. It may look complicated, but it is very simple. There are lines which are easily available to bring you all. And therefore, the target companies and the related parties, which are absolutely in different businesses, come together. Why would a company which is in infra give loan to a company which is in gems and jewelries? Absolutely not. So that's how it is. It's a very classic case study. I've just reproduced that entirely over here. Just moving on so that I can give you some more. So analysis of bank statements. Now this is the best tool, best exercise that we can do, which will give us an advantage. You will have a bank book from the financial records. You may not get. The promoter may support you, promoter may cooperate or not. But one thing that you could do is always use a bank statement. Now bank statement is the clear kundali of everything that can happen. And more importantly, the recipient of those payment. You can all get it from the banking ecosystem. In fact, even if that company is also banking in the same ecosystem, you can identify where the payment has gone from from that day to the other. For example, the 23 layers that we identified, in one single day, there were 17 transactions. Absolutely massive. How this coordination happened, when and how these payments were done from one to the other to the other, and usually you will tie up those numbers. Leave aside some bank charges, leave aside discounting charges, which is largely a percentage. Fixed numbers that will always come to a round figure. You will always have these numbers tie up in tranches. So 2 or 3 payments gone to this, from there again combining, and then somewhere it will consolidate and come to the last layer. And from there this company has to, this payment has to come back, but it couldn't come back because of some mishap that happened. And therefore, the cycle was broken. Now that can be identified through the bank statements. One of the most powerful tools, and therefore, work with banking ecosystem very well. Please know those systems well. Largely, bankers are hard-pressed with time for this analysis. And therefore, volunteer yourself to sit with them. Of course, gain their trust. Tell them that, we are here to give you evidence only. And try and therefore identify. Because everything in this system, see, whenever it comes to system, there's nothing impossible. If there's a question which is coming in your mind, the system ought to give you an answer. If it is not giving an answer, that organization is about to fail. That cannot happen. So therefore, if there is a question coming in your mind, there has to be a solution from the system only. It's just a matter of time, how will that come out? And therefore, you need a helping hand in the person who is giving you an engagement, or someone who can give you this entire throwback, a feedback from the report. A Power Query will always help you with trend scenario analysis. It's a very simple tool wherein you can identify where in 2 cells there is a number which is a largest. So if there is a credit, where in the entire statement history, I give me 8 years bank statement, 16 bank accounts. I'll combine all of them together in a proper manner in a Power Query. And wherever I'll put a summation, I'll put a question. There's a simple formula. This is the amount of credit that I got in a bank. Where am I finding, in a span of 2 or 3 days, same amount or nearby amount plus minus 10% in the entire working? That is my entire web. That is the entire trend and scenario analysis and how it goes through. And the best part, if you are deferring in NPA, you'll always have those quarterly, the 90-day cycle shifted just by a small little debit or a debit in the books and the credit in the bank account again and again and again. So you will get that very fine. Now, these are something that we are good with. Of course, there are people who have translated these queries to an SQL server, to a small tool which gives this, but you don't really need this if you are doing a small 8-year period exercise also. Of course, now current accounts are streamlined. There can be only one current account, but yes, earlier there were 14, 16 current accounts also. All of that can be done very, very easily in Power Query. Sir? Sorry, sir? So RTGS dump is to recognize which are the relevant recipient parties. So if you've done an RTGS, you will get a lot of RTGS, and you will find from the parties which are the related parties, which are the connected parties, which is that one party. See, largely you will do a transaction. See, bank, this is an organization which is doing trade, everything is happening. So there will be relevant transactions. But in that, how would you identify one transaction is just like a circular or a window dressing or something just to siphon off money? It will be through the party. So therefore, an RTGS dump will give you all the names of the parties where the RTGS have been done over a period of a quarter or somewhere. Yes, yes. Yeah, of course. There's a report. So there you'll have to do an elimination exercise. Yeah. In which account do I really find abnormalities? Absolutely. So I'll give you an example, classic example of a equipment finance leasing company. It has taken loan from almost all 16 banks. Okay? And these loan sizes are almost around to the tune of 5,000 crores and above. Yeah. So every now and then, and again, to all of those 16, they've given simple receivables. Because my role is only to give forward lending, no? I'm an equipment finance leasing company, I'm an NBFC. So I take money from you and I give it back. So all I have to do is, every time a bank comes in, I have to give you the set of records that these are the people whom I have funded. Now, here comes the fun part. The banks who have given the money to these people only will share to the tune of the amount that I have taken from you. Only that much I'll share with you. These are my parties that I've given your money to. One question is, how do you identify that? Ki it's a Bank of Baroda money, it's a UCO Bank money, it's a PNB money, it's an SBI money that you've given to. One. Second, who guarantees that the same set of books I'm giving to Bank of Baroda, I'm to PNB, to a UCO, to this? Who does it? No one. Because there is no one auditor doing all of this. Each bank does an SRA differently. Here is where that strategic SRA comes into picture, which says that, acha, the reason for not disclosing the entire books of account is, the loan book is, it's my USP. Are dumb? If the bank wants to target your USP, if the bank wants to, it can do it directly only. Why it anyways giving it to you and for you to do forward lending? Of course, there are some risks that you've taken, but that does not mean that the moment you disclose the parties, the bank will start going them and give them that fund. Because those at that level, at that scrutiny, banks cannot afford to give them those funds. It is the risk involved, and that is why they're coming to you. Otherwise, they would have definitely come to a bank directly. But this was totally declined. So therefore, 16 bank accounts, 5,000 crore, given to different parties or same parties, we don't know. You have to get the entire books of account. You have to get the entire loan books. That is how. And then you identify, which is the one where I'm looking at one outlier. And that is where you do the analysis. There is a very, very high chance that a Bank of Baroda money will not go to an SBI account holder. Because because even they have to manage those now, because they have to come back. Sir, I'm using the names, don't be. And it's a real case where we work, so therefore I'm comfortable in. Otherwise, artificially, you will identify that, I'm just making up a story. So that's how it works. So, and a simple analysis will give you the result. In fact, the reason why you were given an engagement will actually outline the accounts that you have to actually verify. Absolutely. Yes. Any questions here? So, I'll just move ahead. All right. Hello, sab shant hai, are you there or not? It's a scary thing, this pin drop silence. There are two things. One, it's fabulous. Wow, what's happening? And second, oh my God, when is the time going to over? I want to move ahead. And it is said, a wise person said, leave the audience before the audience leaves you. So give me that chance at least. All right, this is one brilliant, again, very, very basic case study. I think self-explanatory, but, these 4 reasons is something that we can all identify. 10 minutes? Oh God, I have to rush a little faster. Of course, the audience is the king, huh? So audience can say, request, order, anything. All right. So this is how it is. These are the 4 things. Don't you think you have 4 things each one of you can identify? The background that I gave you earlier, how to do that, all these 4 can be identified very simply. One transaction that has gone through and it's pretty clear. It's absolutely clear, like a water. All right. Now, the most wonderful part, of course, this is the quality slide that I have. And each one of us are experts in this because we come from the same discipline. So these are some big analysis which we fail to do in our exercise because of timelines. I would love of course, there's now shortage of time, but this is something that we all should be actually talking about, discussing about. So when it comes to revenue and debtors, see, percentages, ratios are the best way to identify outliers. They'll give you a trend which is absolutely different. So revenue and debtors, purchase and creditors, and you need to plot these together. Related party transaction, as I said, move ahead than RPTs. And these are cash and bank transactions. Now, as I said, every diagram is almost around half an hour each. But so I'm not taking much time, but it's a good thing. What I want you to do is, all of us are very, very smart enough to understand these things, but please put it into action. Some way or the other, or there should be a direction in your organization to please put this into action. Start working towards it. At least the thought process also will give you some results. Okay, now, where you will stand out. This is the biggest factor that will differentiate an auditor from a good auditor and from an excellent auditor. How do you do a public domain search? There are a lot of portals available, lot of case studies. It's all about that one Google that you have to do. It's all about that one search you have to do, and go beyond the just 5 first hits. Because mostly the ones that you want are maybe on the second or the third page. And you have to therefore improvise your search abilities. How many of you use ChatGPTs thoroughly? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. Since I'm on this slide, let me give you this. There is a very effective way to use a ChatGPT. You go to ChatGPT, there is one icon. Suppose I always do a login. So if you are using an app or whatever, there is a custom settings in ChatGPT. And you please let the ChatGPT know who you are, what do you want, and how do you want it. If you're not doing these 3 things, those ChatGPTs are general for you, me, your student, for anyone outside on the road, your drivers or anyone. Until unless you tell them that, yes, look, I'm a forensic auditor, I'm a this, I'm that, I want this. Like for example, how can you avoid the use of words fostering, unwavering, commitment, and all of this? Because if these words are coming, everyone will identify it's a ChatGPT. Yeah, clearly, anyone can identify. But if you want, you can avoid these. See, understand, it is not, the problem is not the humans, the machines think or not. The problem is whether we are still thinking or not. See, we have made these tools. How are we using them? Are we applying our mind before using them, or are we just using them? And there are these settings, of course, I can show that to you after this. I don't have a computer right now. But in a ChatGPT, when you go, your login, click on that, and then a page opens up, settings. In that settings, it asks, what do you want ChatGPT to know? Who you are? And some framework, some kind of responses that you want. Usme sample bhi hai, you can then build upon it. And in fact, you can use a ChatGPT to answer this question also for you. But you have to tell that ChatGPT what you are so that you can put it into that settings. But do that the next time you want to use a ChatGPT, because you'll find some really relevant, credible results. Now this is, registration details, line of business, relationship between financial status, all of this is easily available. This is where you get something phenomenal, extraordinary things. Again, a banking ecosystem is the best in this to work with. If there is a proposal that a company has given for borrowing, and at the same time there are 3, 4 more proposals coming in, chances are very high, it's all driven by a same consultant, it's all driven by a same borrower, and only to evergreen their loans. I'll show you in the next example now. How does that happen? And the best, for example, in a very small remote areas, we were given around 9 accounts to do. They were all proprietors. So MCA is out. All other mechanisms are out. You don't know anything. These are proprietary firms. They're all into oil. They're all into extraction of oil and exercise. You know who helped us the most in this? They're disgruntled employees. They were fired. And second, the auditors who were replaced. They would know anything and everything out of it. And plus, their fees are never paid by these promoters. So they are the best people to actually go ahead, bring them into confidence, and start working on it. Another very important thing is your patience. That will play a very important role. Let me give you an example. in one of these engagements that we were in, so I'm a senior partner. I don't look like that, but I'm a senior partner in my firm. And therefore, I carry that, wherever I go, I meet with the GMs and CGMs and all of that, and we do a very strategic decisions. But what happens also is, whenever you have to go to a promoter usually doesn't meets you, or he tries to embarrass you, humiliates you, and tells you that, you are not at that level. I work with Big Fours, I work with this big names. Who are you to come and ask me questions and all that? So, but then that's the best thing to do. Always play with the ego, the egonomics, as we said. He will embarrass you, but the patience will help you. In one of the cases, we went in a very, very swanky tower. He was there, and we went to the office. He asked us to wait, and almost entire day he asked us to sit at the reception. The first thing that you do always is ask to go to the washroom. So at least you go inside, because largely you will not find washrooms outside, near the reception. Yeah, you go inside, move around, and look at what is happening, and see if you find some familiar faces, because there will be someone who knows. And plus, there is an awkward silence, because they know some forensic is happening, some bank fraud has happened, NPA ho raha hai, about to happen, and there are some people who are going to come and investigate. And they have already been asking questions. So plant some or the other things around. Ask questions, kya ho raha hai, who's there, who's not there, who's the driver. All of those questions, ask up front. You'll always find a receptionist. She knows everything, but she doesn't know everything. She or he, whoever. And then, see, why am I using she is because, there's a landmark shift in the way acts are now written in India. Thanks to Modi ji. All our acts now talks about she, her. The recent acts that we'll say, earlier it was he, him. Hello? It's a new thing, yeah? Every act that you'll see, you'll find she and her written. So she includes he, actually, in the spelling also. Otherwise, in income tax, we always say he includes she. But here it is already there. So hats off to Modi ji, Nari Shakti and all. Nikita, wonderful, no? So empowering, no? So now this is what happens, So now you're coming, now that reception, I was asked to wait. So I have seen that everything. And what I was doing was I was just observing what is happening. So this receptionist always, were stamping some received documents. So there were stamps coming from the first drawer. There were stamps coming from the third drawer. Everything happened. I just wanted to see what is there in the third drawer. What is there, what is not there. Why those stamps are separately kept. Simple, she will never allow me to do it. So therefore, the promoter was doing a great work by allowing me to actually sit there for a long. Then he invites me to discussion, gives me hardly some time, and roughs me off. While I'm returning, the reception is gone by the time, because 9 to 6 job hai unka. Then a peon comes in. And the peon comes in, and then I say, oh, mera pen reh gaya yaar. Can you see? I was signing here, but I think I've left the pen. Then he says, okay, which pen? First drawer, nahi hai. Second drawer, nahi hai. Third drawer. I see, arey, kya hai pen bata? So I see the stamps. Stamps with there are name of companies. This is the best proof that I know these are the connected parties. These are parties which are controlled by these enterprises. And therefore, now in my bank statement analysis, now my financial statement analysis, now everything that I will do will have this focus. I have to understand this company, this accounts. And believe me, all the funds are diverted through this company only. The third drawer is the biggest bet. And the patience is only the way that you can get this done. My friend Rishi's already stood up. So I hear that sign. Let me quickly, so these are the courses. I would request all of you, you can go to the SSP and get it done. These are wonderful modules. They are very good to, both of them. Early signs of fraud in banking sector and forensic accounting and fraud detection. I'm sure there are many now, but these are something that you should get your staff to do it. Now, these are some case studies. Okay, now I think these were some analysis we could have done together. We would have test checked up all of us. These are good numbers. There are some outliers in this, but anyways, I'll see how can we do it next. These are some real live data that I've brought in. Okay, now these are some brilliant case studies again. Big frauds that have happened. We were the lucky ones to unearth it. We have also stood by the test of law, but I think we're just short of time a little bit. Rajesh was always asking me how much time would it take, sir? This could take a long, but I thought to keep it comprehensive so that I can give a flavor. Since I'm coming all the way, let me try and give you something. But this is brilliant. You can just, understand it yourself also. But the steps are important. A, B, C, what manipulation, how is that independence check done, and all of these things done. And this is what happens afterwards. There is a default. The default is the biggest, not a red flag, but a green flag for us to understand the money is somewhere not. So, restructuring mechanism, all of that must be done. 5,000 crore in this exercise, in this case study, 5,000 crores wiped off under the brilliant mechanism of restructuring. Classic case study. Okay, and now this is another one case study. Partnership firms involved. By the way, this is not done by Gamma because this is a proprietary data that I have. So this is not somewhere that, Now here, we had actually found out prostitution funds coming into our system. Now how did that happen? And therefore NCB came into action. Behind every drug hall, whenever you hear about a big drug hall by an NCB or by an EOW, please understand there is one very big transaction which happens in a negative listed ecosystem. That is where now we are working to identify those transactions. On a daily basis, if those transactions reported, we flag it off, and chances are very high in the next 1 week, you will have a big drug haul or a gold smuggling case happening. So this is something that happened. I'm just trying to, Mrs. N, wife of promoter. So here, this went to Pakistan. So this entire thing got, because of the NCB, we unearthed the entire fraud actually. These are massive, well planned, well structured, but it just took an ordinary chartered accountant to just throw it open, it's that simple. We are so empowered. And of course with the banks together, with the NCBs, you need a mandate to go and attack those data, otherwise we are a very noble profession, people have told us. But it's time now that we uprise ourselves because, it's an ecosystem which is changing, it's evolving. There's startup, there's entrepreneurship, there's everything happening. Why are we still to be noble? So, anyways, it's Rishibai, this is something fabulous, I think, of course, due to time constraint, you're not able to do it, but one of the best case studies in the national interest, this was done. Moving next, I have got some more, so just quickly. So let me take also an example, when we were doing that NCB, we came across, the prostitution industry, the porn industry that is flourishing day by day. Unfortunately, it's there everywhere. In real sense, actually, we are, subscribing to huge molestation of women in this entire process. It's a dreadful side. The stories behind the scenes are absolutely, it's as good as you just cut off their necks, finish it up. But the way they are pressurized, the way they are working in this industry, it's horrible. It's really horrible. God forbid anyone wants to work in that industry, but and somewhere knowingly, unknowingly, when we subscribe to porn or we watch it somewhere, when we have fun while watching it or when we see them, we are actually, encouraging these people a lot. There's a big white paper that has been published on this, but well, I think Kali Yug yahi hai, we are subscribing to all of that stuff knowingly, unknowingly. But that one case has really moved us from the core. It's a very demanding profession, let me tell you that. It's a very, very demanding profession. And women are being really harassed and really molested and really, so anyways. All right, so moving next, key takeaways. Going beyond the confines of definition, unmasking, questioning purpose. And see, you have to be, as I said, if you want to be a forensic auditor, you cannot be a noble profession anymore. You're not a noble guy anymore. You're someone who's asking the questions. You're someone asking legitimate questions. You're someone asking why. The why has to be clear. And you are therefore reporting it. If you are signing it, if you are attaching your UDIN, if you are doing something, if your name is on that, you have to ask those whys. You cannot just rely on a management representation. You cannot use the words test check. You cannot use the words materiality. You cannot just try and identify someone whom you can put the blame on if in case it goes boom. But these are some important things that you should do. These are some good strategies that you should put into picture. And believe me, you'll find a lot of people in that ecosystem who will actually help you in this, identifying all of this. These are some strategies that should be taught in every audit firms, in every teams, in every exercises. And that is how you can actually bring out something really fabulous in your engagements. Data analytics allow you to do more with less. If you think that there must be a better way, then probably is. मतलब आपके पास क्वेश्चन आया है तो वो है 100% उसका solution मिलेगा. Get into investigative mindset with presumption that fraud has been done unless otherwise proved. So it's a standard normer. You're guilty unless otherwise proved. तो आपको भी यही mindset जाना पड़ेगा. There is fraud unless otherwise proved, because I'm giving you a big database, big sample of so many entities that we have identified. There is fraud. There is leakage. The only thing is, one, the promoter knows, the other, the promoter doesn't. See if you can work for the second one. First one, may somewhere you will get a work to do. So don't rely on the work of experts unless you have exhausted all the ways of ascertaining information. Like, you cannot put a blame saying that we have relied on the work of expert in this. You need to put something into action yourself. A non-cooperative borrower is better than a very cooperative one. For the bankers here, largely a problem, non-cooperative borrower, data nahi deta hai, don't give it. Because then I'll be actually able to. Because if a cooperative borrower, he'll always beat you around the bush. He'll always take you to restaurants, take food. Yeah, we are doing this, this is happening. We are doing in the national interest. We are helping the bankers. We are helping the economy. We are helping taxation. We are helping all of them. They'll just beat around the bush, take you here and there. A non-cooperative borrower is the best way, because that is where you can actually rely on your own skills. No one here to fool you around, no one here to take you around here and there, and you can give a good analysis. It's a matter of time that people will understand. Our reports can be much more solid, much more robust, without dilution of a management comments. Don't rely on hearsay and see too good to be true scenario. These are again some, okay, this is okay. Now these are some good frauds that I want you to please look at. The classic fraud, sorry Rishi, you are standing, just last slide I think. Cosmos Bank fraud, the fraud of the century. Not because of the amount involved, this is just 94 crore fraud, but the way it worked, brilliant. Absolutely stunning. The best of the infrastructure available, still those frauds. Believe me, the ATM machine was spewing money across the continents, across the countries. You should root that. A group which goes by the name Lazarus, a Korean group, is said to be the mastermind behind this fraud. The way this fraud has happened is a classic case study. The way there are switches that happens whenever there's a transaction to be done from an ATM to a bank account. The switches never functioned. And every time they asked for money to verify the account, the only answer they got was yes. Mind-blowing. The way they must have planted Trojans, mind-blowing the way they must have manipulated the entire system. And one of the best infrastructures that the country had in Cosmos Bank was just put to test. One word about Lazarus Group is, these are people, could be one amongst us also. The Koreans, for example, the North Korea, they take care of some families. They adopt these kids. They're like warriors, but technical, they're smart warriors, intelligent warriors. They are given the best education. Entire thing is funded. They are sent to Harvards, they're sent to Oxfords, they're sent to everywhere place in the country, best of the minds, and they are working in the top industries. Whenever these government wants, and they take care of the entire family, go ahead, do everything. Whenever they want, they're just one call away to do whatever the country wants. And believe me, they are everywhere. And that is the group which is notorious and is known to be behind this. As per of course, there are 11 people who are charge sheeted also in this entire, but wonderful. Must be, I could have gone more. Again, each of them is like an half an hour, at least 20 minutes. I've talked about ONGC. Sir, where is that gentleman? He went. Who was supposed to, Dinesh Thakur, the Ranbaxy fraud. आप काम कर लो Ranbaxy. So you work with Ranbaxy how much ever you want. The maximum you will earn is some crores and crores. This man blew whistle for what Ranbaxy. So, Salman Khan giving you Revital. There's nothing in Revital. There's only water. All the drugs in USA that were given were simple water. There was no R&D. There was nothing happening. This man identified that. There was a long battle. You know how much money did he make? Of course, he stood the test of time, the harassment, whatnot, social stigma, the threats at home and everything. But he made a whooping 250 crore rupees as an award settlement in a court of law in US. To be precise, 244 crore rupees plus minus the capital payments he would have received. That's Ranbaxy fraud for you. Matlab, instead of doing a research, what Ranbaxy did was, in their warehouses, in their places where they had to do research, they kept aging machines, paper aging machines. So मानी जी हम लोग को अगर पेपर एजिंग करना होगा तो क्या करेंगे? ये चाय पी के रख देंगे, उसका बॉल बना के फेंकेंगे, ये सब करेंगे. But Ranbaxy people were smart. They said, we don't want to do the Indian way, you know, this simple way. So they brought a machine which heats the paper. You know, when you take a fresh paper out of the printing machine, they're hot. In fact, if you mishandle that machine, it can bleed you also. It can give you a cut. Those papers are very, you know, so they actually had machine, papers were kept in so that they can be aged 15 years, 20 years. And then, you know, those were served to FDA, people who were coming for checking whether there is research. Because until unless there is research, you cannot come out with a drug, right? So the FDA only gives approval if there is a research involved. There's a big thing, big note about it. But yes, must go through one simple article is there on Dinesh Thakur, the man behind the Ranbaxy fraud. ONGC fraud we only spoke about. AMPL fraud is the one that I was saying, 26 layers that we've just figured out, and I'm lucky enough to be honored by the British Parliament because one of the MPs who was involved, who's felicitating us, who's given us the invitation, is one of those people who got benefited out of this investigation. So he said, let me list out to you. And of course, we made a world record last year in India for having the largest human mosaic. I was the chairman then, I could do that. And so therefore, so 18 July will be there in England. But yes, this is one that case that gave us this brilliant breakthrough. And one of those people will be honored in British Parliament. So I'm just very nervous actually. You don't know what happens there, the House of Commons. Finally, the last slide. This is something that is close to me and I always say, but this is in Hindi, so let me not recite it for you. But this in essence means just because you're qualified, just because you're a chartered accountant, just because you know things, doesn't mean that you will get an engagement, you will get something breakthrough. You know, the story, the poem is all about one sea diver. Can I use little Hindi so that, you know? डुबकिया सिंधु में गोताखोर लगाता है, जा जाकर खाली हाथ लौट कर आता है. Sindhu means a river, a big ocean. Gotakhor means a sea diver. This man doesn't know whether he will have food if he gets up in the morning, will he have his food in the evening or the next day. But this man, each and every day goes to the bottom of the ocean, as much as deep as possible, humanly possible, to his best talent possible, to get that one pearl, that little, you know, white pearl, white shining thing, so that he can sell it in the market and maybe find food for himself. डुबकिया सिंधु में गोताखोर लगाता है, जा जाकर खाली हाथ लौट कर आता है, मिलते नहीं सहजी मोती गहरे पानी में. Just because he's diving doesn't mean that उसको he'll get those pearls, you know. Just because you're a chartered accountant, just because you're intelligent, just because you've passed this, it doesn't mean that you will get everything. As I said, व्यवस्था सरकार देगी, अवस्था आपको और हमको बनानी है. And for that we have to actually apply a lot of things. मिलते नहीं सहजी मोती गहरे पानी में, बढ़ता दुगना उत्साह इसी हैरानी में. He's more intrigued. Why am I not getting these pearls? Why am I not getting these engagements? Why am I not getting a breakthrough? I'm working my ass off. I'm working my heads off. All of the teams are here. I'm doing everything. Why is it not I'm getting? Where is the fraud? Where is the money? Where is the siphoning? Where is the diversion? I'm giving an audit report. Is that right or not? And so therefore, डुबकिया सिंधु में गोताखोर लगाता है, जा जाकर खाली हाथ लौट कर आता है, मिलते नहीं सहजी मोती गहरे पानी में, बढ़ता दुगना इसी हैरानी में, मुट्ठी उसकी खाली हर बार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. All right, that's it. Thank you very much. It was pleasure. Thank you, Dubai, for giving me this opportunity, giving me this platform. Thank you, Rajji. Thank you, the entire chapter, for giving me this. I hope this evening was well spent, and I hope you take away something fabulous from here. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Great, thank you, Arpit ji. I didn't have to say, can we have round of applause? Your enthusiasm has already proved it. Yay! Let me congratulate you for putting the, what you call the subject right on the front, that you have prepared this slide using AI, the use of colors. This itself shows your uniqueness in the way you approach things. And one thing I must say, जब भी राजा जी गाना सुनेंगे, we will always remember you.
People who are here are lucky enough to witness this. This is something new that we've just come up with. वो second video चलाएंगे एक बार?
Do you also want to generate your images like this? Here's how I did it. First of all, go to Ideogram website on Google, then write a prompt and generate an image in 9.
Do you hear something familiar? Yes. Whose voice is this? Imagine now, Zoom पे हम virtual रहते थे, but now you'll have my digital avatar also here, you'll have my voice also here. Everything that I want to say can be here. And assuming you don't know if there's someone on the stage or not, you may actually fall into the trap in believing that Arpit Kabra is actually speaking in front of you. So just play the video from again. Hear the texture of the voice that has come so clear.
Do you also want to generate your images like this? Here's how I did it. First of all, go to Ideogram website on Google, then write a prompt and generate an image in 9.16 ratio. Then just go to Google and search for faceswap.ai, go on the first link, then upload your image in the upload target face section, and then upload the image you generate from Ideogram. Click on swap and your image is generated. Don't forget to download, and if you want these links in your DM, comment superb.
That's AI served to you, truth pair. Absolutely. So this case study was developed only for that. It just happened while I was on the flight. Each one of you can develop that? Yeah, no problem.
I think we'll take it one-to-one basis. There is so much to know from you. Can I ask the chairman, vice chairman, Hanuman sir, please join on the stage to give a memento on behalf of all of us to Arpit. Give him another round of applause. He has the enthusiasm left to share the knowledge. And Balram, Sanjay, please also join on the stage for giving the memento. And for vote of thanks, Sanjay, please can we have you on the stage?
In the era of GPT and AI, every new skills a reason to learn. It's like a software updates, essential for avoiding out-of-date alerts. Namaskar, salam and good evening. On behalf of ICI Dubai chapter, it's my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all once again and extend heartfelt gratitude for joining us for this evening. In the world of the fraud and the forensic, only thing that should be inflated is our sense of gratitude. To start with, we have immensely honored to have our esteemed chief guest, Sri Yatin Patel ji, Consul General. His insight on the cyber crime, fraud and forensic was invaluable. And a special acknowledgement goes to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Aldrin Gerard, who has enlightened us with the vast experience in banking, cyber fraud and operational risk. And of course, we are equally grateful to see Arpit Kabra, who provided profound insight, detailed aspect of the fraud and forensic. Our heartfelt thanks extend to our esteemed sponsor, whose generous support have been pivotal in making this event a success. We sincerely appreciate their contribution and the vital role played in our community. Title sponsor, Bricks and Boots. Principal sponsor, Telesolution, IFCO, Lulu Group, Motiwal Ospal, and Ola Magri. Platinum sponsor, National Bond, UHY James, HLB Hummed, HSBC, Emirates Chartered Accountant Group. Valuation partner, Windsmill. Travel partners, Uranus Travels. Magazine partner, Finance Bird. Media partner, Khalees Time. Banking partner, Bank of Baroda. Institutional partner, Delhi Private School. And recently added insurance partner, Policy Bazaar. Once again, thank you all for joining us for tonight. making this event a successful. Let's enjoy and a delightful conversation. Have a great evening. Thank you.